What is up, listeners? Welcome to Predator vs. Movies. I'm Alex.
I am Peter.
Je m'appelle Aidan.
Oh, we are French, and this is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest Russian movie. Sorry. We will start with a non-spoiler review before diving into this is terrible, into a deep
Scottish
discussion of
now?
the film. It's just ever changing. Into a deep discussion of the film, and then we will ask the most important question: would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week we will be reviewing the menu
The menu?
avec notre guest Sasha.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Yeah. Welcome back, Sasha. It's nice to have you back.
Good to be back. Thank you.
I'm stopping the French accent. That was a terrible idea. I should not have done that. We're starting off with our news.
News.
So we'll start off with the Marvel Corner. We have an update on.
It
Black
is the
Panther.
Marvel Corner.
Thanks. That's Aidan likes doing our special effects now. So Marvel Corner. Update on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Someone compared screenshots from the trailer or the finished film with behind the scenes footage, and it appears that they edited out Namor's penis. It seems that he had.
I saw that. Yeah.
It seems that there was a bulge, if you will, in his lower regions, and in the movie, it's considerably smaller. Yeah, that's interesting,
Yeah.
and I think that's really funny. Anyways, here's something for Avengers 6: Secret Wars. Apparently, Kevin Feige is planning to feature a Portals-like sequence from like Endgame sequence, where all the heroes of the multiverse appear together. And so by that I mean like characters from all of the Marvel movies that have ever been, I guess. So your Fox X-Men, your Fantastic Four, Daredevil, maybe Ben Affleck, or like literally anyone that he can get. Blade,
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes.
That would be cool. I would actually like that. That'd be sick.
Yeah. I don't know, but like reading that news, I think I'm just in the height of Marvel fatigue.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, no,
we
that's
have
not.
to.
You're
Yeah.
like, not this shit again.
Yeah, like I'm not as excited as I would have been, 5 years ago even.
Yeah. I'm very afraid that they're banking on this whole cameo.
Yeah.
Whoa, look who in the movie. I know that guy.
That's
Like,
exactly my
You
problem.
know, yeah.
And you've got so many characters that I just feel like because everything's so rushed, they're not going to have time to like cross paths and introduce each other like to the heroes and like crossovers and stuff, because you need to build out the universe before you get to that point. And I feel like so much of this phase and the upcoming stuff is like introducing new people, and there's not
Yeah.
enough using what you already have and playing with that. And I just
True.
worry that it's like I saw an insider on Twitter post a list of all the characters who were confirmed for those movies, and it was like several threads long, like it was like several tweets long of lists of characters, and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Why can't we have like an actual, like, is it going to be an actual story that I'm going to like be invested in? Somehow Infinity War worked, but like I'm nervous for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in the same boat as you there.
Peter, what are your thoughts?
Well, in the first 10 years, they had time to build chemistry and relationships, either through crossovers or through Avengers films. And this time we're just getting straight to like a team up right away with like little chemistry between the members. So that's about my only concern. But like the fun of Avengers movie is to see all your favorite heroes come together anyways. So I hope they can pull it off, because like from what I heard, it's a pretty cool storyline that they're doing. So
yeah, and you actually bring up a great point. It's that Avengers 5 is going to be the first Avengers movie, and it's already like it's like going from not like before Avengers, like phase 1, and then going directly to Infinity War and Endgame. There's
Exactly.
no
Yeah.
where's our Avengers team up where our roster is made and filled out. Like
Yeah,
I
who is our roster right now? Like I
I
don't
know,
like
right?
you
I
said
have
there's
no
so many
idea.
characters that are gonna be in it, but I can't even like I don't even like know who that is. Is it just like like literally everyone that isn't
Literally
dead?
everyone,
Yeah.
basically, yeah. Like I can pretty easily come up with a good idea of what the roster is going to be, right? You have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain
Mhm.
Marvel, Thor, She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, maybe Moon Knight. Who else has appeared recently? Probably yes, the Black Panther. Um, who else was in this phase? Eternals are separate.
Is Miss Marvel
I
gonna
guess
be it and stuff?
they said that she'll be an Avenger, and I hope that they mean young Avenger
Mm.
because I don't know about that. And Spider-Man, obviously, if he's still around. Um, but yeah, like it's a fair question. Who is the Avengers roster? We'll never know. Um, oh, you're right. That was a spoiler for Black Panther. I guess I'll bleep it if people haven't seen it yet. Whoops.
It's a sad
A-
one.
Anyways, last bit of Marvel news. Apparently, so not only will Harrison Ford appear as Hulk, or sorry, as General Ross in the Captain America movie, he's going to be the Red Hulk and the President of the United States. Both of those things in
Oh
Captain America: New World Order, and I think that's just crazy. Like, what does Harrison Ford gonna look like with a Hulk body?
Like give CG Harrison Ford's face like huge like
Yes.
yeah.
It's oh man, that movie. There's just so many silly things in that movie. The leader, Moon Knight,
Yeah.
man, that's a crazy movie. I
Yeah.
don't know how they're gonna pull that off. Speaking of Harrison Ford, we got our first look at Indiana Jones 5. There was a couple photographs. No trailer yet, but apparently it's coming soon. Um, Indiana Jones looks old.
He does look old. He is old.
Mads Mads Mikkelsen looks like no Nazi. He looks like the guy from the first movie, actually, with the glasses and the hat.
Yeah.
And all we know about it so far is that it's going to be set in the 1960s in New York, actually, which is
I think that's
is really
interesting.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
we both think it's interesting. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that it's like it's in America and that it's like
Yeah.
very because the point of Indiana Jones is generally like there's a MacGuffin in a foreign land and the foreign lands are exotic, unlike America. And it's like it's interesting that, you know,
That's a good point.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe they're going to like a museum and they're putting the stuff back. I've heard that joke a lot, and I think that'd be really funny, but also definitely not gonna happen. And yeah, more kind of like now we're just getting into random news. Bradley Cooper has been cast as Frank Bullitt in Spielberg's new film of that kind of like franchise, if you will. So that was a franchise from like I want to say the '60s, and he's kind of like an action hero who like does like high speed chases, and he might be a cop or like a detective kind of thing.
Spielberg
Um,
is remaking a series of movies from the 60s.
so no, I heard that it's not a remake. It's like a new movie in that series, but so it's
Okay.
not a reboot. So I just pulled up some information for the movie from the original. So it was a 1968 action thriller film, and it starred Steve McQueen, and so that's kind of what was
Okay.
famous about it. Um, will it tell me who Bullet is a good question in this article. Um, yeah. So he's a detective, SFPD Detective Lieutenant Frank Bullitt. Um, I think that's really cool. I like Bradley Cooper, and I think he could be a cool action hero. I don't. Has he done action before?
Well, he's the Rocket Raccoon.
He
If that
is
counts
Rocket
as
Raccoon.
action.
You're right. He did do Rocket Raccoon. Not really action star material, but I guess it's an action movie. I meant more like, has he been like a James Bond, Mission Impossible kind of like? Has he done something?
I
like
think he was in like a movie in like the 2000s where it was called like the Ragtag Squad. Or it was like one of those movies where it's supposed to be about like super. It wasn't called that. It's a stupid name, but it was like the point was like it's the other guys. We're not heroes, but we have a job to do. It was like something like that. What am I
I'm gonna
thinking
see if
of?
I'm gonna see if I can
What?
That's so funny.
It'd be funny if I'm not even thinking of the right thing.
There's something
Who's
called
that?
the A Team.
Oh, that might be it. I think
It's
that's it.
2010. I don't. Do you mean I've heard of like The Leftovers, but I don't think he was in that.
Oh, I think I am thinking of The Leftovers. Okay, he wasn't. Okay. But the
Or
A-Team's an action movie, yeah.
what's that one with Denzel? You know, I don't know. Whatever.
Could not tell you.
Other news. Andrew Scott, who is known as the Hot Priest from Fleabag, and Paul Mescal, Aidan lookalike in After Sun. They're going to be playing lovers in Andrew Hayes' next film, which is an adaptation of Taichi Yamada's Strangers. So it's apparently a tale about grief, existential loneliness, unending longing for human connection. That's a tweet I saw, and so I'm basically reading out what they said. I like both of those actors. Andrew Hay, I'm just pulling up his filmography. He did a movie called Weekend not too long ago, and he did Lean on Pete.
He was in the Bond movies, right? The most recent ones. He was in at least one of them.
He was in them.
I think he was in one of them. He was like he was in like Skyfall or something, or Spectre.
No, he wasn't.
No.
Or wait, who are you talking about? I'm talking about the director. Who are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about Andrew Scott. Oh, my bad.
Oh, Andrew Scott. He could have been. Let's pull up his.
He was using Spectre.
Oh yeah, he's like the
Max Denbigh.
Wasn't he the guy that turned, that like betrayed M?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a porn name. Max Denbigh. Anyway, so yeah, that sounds cool. Speaking of After Sun, apparently it cracked the top highest rated narrative features directed by women. I like how like it's quite a long category, but
yeah,
word wise that is. And so I think that's well deserved. I think it's a great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, go check that one out. Greta Gerwig is going to direct the first two Netflix Narnia remakes or readaptations. How do you guys? Where do you think? What's their name? Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet. What roles do you think they'll get?
I don't remember any of the characters' names, but the older ones.
The
older guys.
Yeah,
I saw a tweet on Twitter about Timothy's. He went to the Venice Film Festival dressed in like a red thing, and then they were referring to, I know exactly who he's going to get cast. He's going to get cast as the donkey guy.
The donkey guy.
I don't know what his.
Like James McAvoy's character from a
satyr, yeah. The donkey guy. For the layman, the donkey guy.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think it's pretty cool. I love Greta. Greta's done amazing films. I really like basically all of her work. So it's going to be exciting. Like, I think when you get big movie directors that direct more artsy films to take on the more sort of like popular franchises, you always get sort of something unique out of it. Like Nolan's Batman, for example, was great. So
or Chloe Zhao's Eternals.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that, but
you're trying to avoid it because it makes your point kind of tough to prove. But yeah. I don't know.
Matt Reeves on the Batman. I guess just two Batman examples.
Yeah. Yes.
Bat Reeves.
Yeah. Does this mean though that we don't get a Barbie franchise? Like, is she going to be one away from? I don't know.
Maybe just Barbie and Narnia for the foreseeable future.
Do you think Greta Gerwig could do a Marvel movie if she's doing
that would be very interesting.
Franchise? Could be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'd love to see like a Frances Ha type scene in a Marvel movie.
Very like Noah Baumbach.
Yeah.
Dude, just people talking in a New York apartment.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the Avengers.
The
Avengers. I actually really want to make that movie now. Just the Avengers hanging out in New York, Noah Baumbach. Yeah. That would be so funny. No fighting. That's it. Anyways, Babylon, Damien Chazelle's newest movie, has got some reactions. It had its first screening the other day.
And they're not great, are they?
They're not great.
No.
I saw several negative reviews. It's not consistently negative. There was like a couple bright lights. scattered amongst there, and I didn't see too many. Like I think I saw 5 reactions max, because
Yeah.
apparently there was also a Glass Onion screening, so a lot of people saw that instead.
Okay.
I all I heard was that it's like it's covering a lot of ground that has been covered before, and it doesn't really have anything
Sure.
new to say. Like
I
criticism of
think
Hollywood.
I saw something that it was like trying to be a Scorsese movie, but he's not like he doesn't have the facilities for that.
And also, like Scorsese is like much darker, and
Yeah.
Chazelle doesn't really go into that too
Right.
much or something. So yeah, I saw that too. I'm gonna hold out hope because I really want it to be good. So I'm definitely gonna see it like opening weekend probably. But
Yeah, I'm gonna see it no matter, and I'm gonna go in open-minded no matter what. So
yeah. And then last off for a new segment, we have the trailer park. I'm keeping the name. So several trailers and teasers released this week. First off, we got a teaser for Pixar's Elemental.
sure did.
Looks like that fire and water game from Cool Math Games or whatever it was. I used to play that game a lot. And I don't care for this. I don't think it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't either. To be honest with you, I don't like the movie Inside Out, and it reminds me of Inside Out, and I think it's gonna be bad though.
I think Pixar's trying too hard to find like new interesting things that are like opposites
that they can personify and stuff.
Yeah, they're running out of things that they can personify and that are opposites. Yeah. So I at some point they're gonna have to realize that their best movies aren't that. Right? Like think about like Monsters Inc. Sure, it's opposites with monsters and humans, but the story isn't. I don't know. And Finding Nemo,
or like The Incredibles.
I guess it is usually opposites, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Still, like, some of their best movies. I think The Incredibles is a good example. Kind of don't focus so much on the fact that it's opposites, but there was a trailer for something being released by Neon called, I think it's Ennis Men. I know nothing about this. This is the first I'm hearing of it, but it looks really neat. It's like a thriller horror, and it looks like it's straight ripped out of the 70s. Like
cool.
It looks like it's filmed on film.
I love that 70s film look so much.
And it looks super like creepy and like uncomfortable. It gave me very like The Lighthouse vibes if it was a 70s movie. So like I would highly recommend go look for that trailer if you haven't, because I was like, whoa, this could be really interesting. So I'm excited for when that comes out.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Speaking of The Lighthouse, Willem Dafoe's latest movie, Inside, got a trailer. Basically, in that one, he's like an art thief, and he's in probably like a high rise or something in New York, I think, and he gets locked inside because like he trips the alarm or something, and all the doors lock, and it looks like he gets like stuck there for like weeks or something. And he tries to survive in this like super high end apartment. I think that looks really neat.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love movies that are set in like single or like just like a very select number of places. Like a good example of that would be like Parasite, for example, where it's just switching between the home of the poor family and the home of the rich family. Like I think that when you can't really mix up the setting, you can't use like extravagant exotic settings to wow the audience. It demands a lot more work on the actor and the cinematographer to sort of make the movie interesting and keep the audience entertained through its runtime. So I think these movies oftentimes are the better or like sometimes the best movies. So I'm pretty excited about this one. And just I think that's like Willem Dafoe's type of movie, you know, like it's not like the typical artsy film. Is like on the weird side of the artsy film where like a guy is like forced into extreme conditions and somehow, you know, needs to survive. Like we're just, you know, sort of like The Lighthouse, like you mentioned. And I'm hyped for this one. Looks good.
Yeah, how many Descent into Madness films do you think Willem Dafoe has done at this point?
Too many, man. Too many.
That's like his bread and butter. The Lighthouse.
I mean, even like Spider-Man, if
Spider-Man?
you
Yeah.
think about it. Yeah.
Lighthouse,
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man.
Like he's always that's his thing. I mean, he's great at it too. There's a scene in the trailer where he's like trying to talk to a pigeon, and I
Yeah.
think that's great. I think
Dude,
that'll be
and I
fun.
love how like they featured the fish in the tank, and then
Oh,
like couple
yeah.
scenes later, the fish is on the chopping block. It's like
Yeah,
wow.
gross. So yeah, I think that looks cool. Last trailer we have is Steven Soderbergh's last movie in the what's it called, Magic Mike franchise. It's called Last Dance, and he's going to Europe, as so many sequels do. I tweeted about this. Let's have a fun game. I want, because I've already done this game. I want everyone to name as many sequels for movies that inexplicably go to Europe for their sequel, where
Far From Home.
where the original is not set in Europe. So yes, Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Was Pitch Perfect also?
Yep, that's another example.
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect
Madagascar. One of the
2 and
Madagascars
3.
did that. Oh,
Yes,
really?
Madagascar 3.
Um,
There's more Marvel movies. There's too many Marvel movies that do this. There's
Really?
like 3 others or something. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Avengers because they went
Yes.
to
Age of
oh,
Ultron
true.
goes
Yeah,
to
that's
Europe.
true. Yeah.
and
There's more
Captain
Marvel movies that go-
America. Didn't Civil War happen?
Yeah,
Oh,
I would.
Civil War is
You
Europe,
could count
that's
that
true.
one. That one goes to Germany. Yeah.
I don't know which other ones you're talking about.
Thor goes to Europe in Thor: The Dark World, which
Oh, he
probably no
does,
one
that's true.
remembers.
Yeah.
What else? And there's other things. Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties goes to Europe.
I think
oh,
there's
man,
like an Ashley Olsen, Mary Kate and Ashley movie where it's Euro
Oh, like-
Trip is the second one.
Parent Trip or something maybe. Like I did tweet about it, like just how many. It's crazy. And there's like a trope, you know, like there's a trope website where they collect all the tropes, and they have one. It's just called Sequel Goes Foreign, so it's a little more generic, but so often it's like specifically Europe too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes to Britain, I guess, and he does a stage show with Salma Hayek. And watching the trailer, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm into this. I was surprised. I didn't think I would be, but I mean, I like dance movies and like the Step Up franchise. Like I used to watch that, and so I think it looks kind of good. I'm sold.
I'm interested too. They've piqued my interest. One might
Your
say.
interest has been piqued.
Yeah.
One might say. Yeah.
Yeah. One might
Anyone
say.
anyone else see the trailer and have thoughts?
I mean, I don't think I'm into Magic Mike movies, man. I don't think they're made for me personally.
Why?
And
What
I
are you trying to say,
remember,
Peter?
I remember. I think like my most fond memory of Magic Mike is watching a Conan bit where he went to see Magic Mike XXL with a bunch of girls. It was kind of funny.
That's your most fond Magic Mike memory.
Oh, I saw
that's
that.
about it.
That actually
Yeah.
is kind of funny. I'll
Yeah.
give you that. It's a funny clip.
Sasha, what do you think of the Magic Mike trailer?
I mean, was like literally watched it about 4 minutes before jumping onto the podcast while I was trying to eat lunch really quickly, so I was like barely paying attention to it. I can't tell you much. I haven't seen any of the other movies, so I mean, I
No, they're right.
have like a totally complete, literally the most neutral opinion you could have.
Are you going to be there opening day to see Channing Tatum?
Probably not. No,
Channing Tates.
Well, I will. And Salma Hayek.
you have fun with
Looks
that.
good. Anyways, so we watched a little movie this week, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you some brief general info about the movie. So this is The Menu, in case you didn't see the title. It's a black comedy horror film directed by Mark Mylod. It's written by Seth Weiss and Will Tracy. It's produced by, among others, Adam McKay and Will Ferrell. It stars Rafe Fiennes. There you go, Peter. I'm saying it right. Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Hong Chow, Janet McTeer, Reed Birney, Judith Light, and John Leguizamo. It has a runtime of, I think, an hour and 46 minutes, and it has a budget of $3.6 million. That was a little bit lower than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like a subdued.
It kind of makes sense. It's a
film.
one location, generally speaking.
There's quite a few famous people in it, though. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if the budget had inflated a little more than that to accommodate. But I don't know. Somehow they pulled it off with 3.6, because I think that's less than Barbarian. Wasn't Barbarian
really?
4 million? From what I
Yeah, I think
what
so.
I
I think
recall.
it's something
So
like that. Yeah.
that's kind of surprising that movie was more expensive.
I feel
Anyways,
like it makes sense. I guess just off the actors alone, but yeah.
and they would have had to build sets for the whole thing.
Oh, true.
Oh no,
That's
no,
true.
actually both build sets. The menu is the
okay.
interiors of the restaurant is all a set. It's made on a studio.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so that's our generic info for the movie. If you haven't seen it, we're gonna do our little game. We guess the Metacritic score. So there's a little website on the internet where they tabulate critics' reviews of a movie and give it a general score out of 100. If it's 60 and above, it gets a green score. If it's 80 and above, it gets a must see. If it's in the 50s, it's yellow, and if it's in the 40s or below, it gets a red score. So we are going to guess where the menu lands. Last week I won, so I will go first, followed by Aidan because he always wins. Then Peter, then Sasha because we always let the guest go last because that's the nicest spot.
It is nice.
So the menu. I was thinking about this. I think it was good, but I don't think it was that good. I'm gonna go with 70.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking. I'm thinking a little bit higher than that, but I was thinking something around the high 70s to low 80s. But I was also thinking like, would this be a must see? And I was thinking maybe not. I'm gonna go 77.
Peter?
Okay, I'm gonna really try to play the game here.
You're gonna try to play the game this time because last time you tried and didn't really play the game.
I'll go with 73, like a middle between you and Aidan.
Okay, I think that's more playing the game than last time. But Sasha, where do you think?
Oh man, I'm thinking 74. I think it's right around where Aidan and Peter are thinking.
We're really playing at this time.
Oh yeah.
I don't think
get
I
a
know
tie.
what that means, but 70, 73, 74, and 77, right?
Yeah.
I just want to have it in my head when I look it up. Okay. And okay, who guessed what? 70. I think I win again. I think I win this round. So it gets a 71.
You do win.
And so 70 was closest. So yeah, and what do you guys think about that?
I think it's better than that personally. We'll get into that, but yeah.
Sasha?
Yeah, I agree with Aidan. I thought it was. I would certainly give it better than that. I'm not a movie critic, but I thought it was certainly better than that.
Peter?
Probably like slightly higher for sure.
I'm actually fairly comfortable with that review. I think 71 is a good, and I mean I guessed it, so it kind of proves like that's where I was thinking it would land. I think it's accurate. So I think next off we have our little non-spoiler reaction. So as the winner, I'm going to decide who goes first, and I do decree that Sasha can go first. What did you think of this menu?
Wow, what a wild movie. You'll hear me say it literally like every time that I've been on this podcast, except for maybe Bros. But like, this is another one of those movies where the trailer is so compelling that you just have to go watch the movie. So the first time I saw the trailer, I'm like, wow, okay, this sounds really interesting. What's going on here? They're at this restaurant and they're like eating all these like weird foods that you hear about in all these magazines and on BuzzFeed and all these things like, oh, we went and tried a $700 hamburger versus a 75-cent hamburger and things like that. So that in itself was interesting. But then I remember this like scene in the trailer where they're all like running in the woods. It's like, okay, well, what's going on here now? So it's like one of those things where it's like, it's so all over the place. You're like, okay, I need to know what's going on here because I need to figure it out. As somebody who's watched the majority of Hell's Kitchen as well, there's that aspect to it, which is like, okay, let's see what kind of take they have on the food side of things, and how close is Ray Fiennes to Gordon Ramsay? Is he like him at all? I guess we'll find out. But I thought it was a really well done movie, and I think given the like with the theme and how it ends up playing out, it's very different from what I was expecting. So overall, a good, enjoyable experience.
Cool. What would you give it like out of 5 or like a rating?
I think on Letterboxd I gave it a 4.5. So I'm gonna go with 4.5.
Oof, 4.5
Ooh.
glowing review. And so it sounds like, would you recommend this to a friend?
Yes.
Cool. Let's hear from Peter. What did you think?
Peter guy.
Okay. Well,
Family Guy.
before I talk about my thoughts on the movie, I have to say I'm a big Ray Fiennes fan. I've enjoyed his work. He's a fantastic actor, a very charismatic person. So, any movie that he's in, I'm already sold. Now, so like it's a must watch for me already. Like
Don't touch your mic.
before even seeing the trailer. Thank you, Alex. Um, but then like I feel like the trailer again did a very good job of preserving the mystique, which a lot of trailers don't these days. Um, and I was expecting a different movie going in than what I was getting. Like the acting was fantastic, the twist was great, and it was grounded. Unlike um, See How They Run, which is sort of like a surprising third act twist. Um, and like the overall commentary and message was compelling, and I think they did a very good job portraying the message that they were trying to send through the movie. Uh, the I think it's a solid 4 out of 5 for me, and I would recommend it to everybody. I think it's a very enjoyable watch.
Interesting. Aidan, what did you think?
Yeah, so I actually saw the trailer and I was like, oh no. Like I remember like I saw the trailer and we were talking about doing this movie and I wasn't really too enthusiastic about it. I saw the trailer and I was like, is this going to be like a most dangerous game? Like they're
Yeah.
serving people. Like I was like this is going to be dumb and I'm not going to like it. But I was pleasantly surprised. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I think this is the kind of movie and story I really like. I love these like self-contained kind of like dark and playful horror stories. It reminds me of like the kind of short stories that I would read like throughout high school that I really gravitated towards. I love writing in that style. I love reading that kind of thing. I think that comparison is twofold, and that if that's a good thing, but it's also a thing of I don't know if it necessarily has enough. I think it has the same gravitas as those short stories, which maybe isn't great for a feature length film. But that being said, I don't think it's trying to be this mind blowing experience. I think it's very successful at doing what it wants to do. I would give this 4 stars out of 5, and I would recommend this to a friend.
Wow. Okay. So lots of glowing reviews. Um, yeah, I have to agree with Aiden on like my thoughts about the trailer. I was pretty underwhelmed by it. I did think that it was going to be just like something I had seen before, like Most Dangerous Game, or more what I was thinking was like, okay, they're making fun of fine dining. Like, so what? Like I've seen this before, and I mean that didn't really change for me as I watched it. I will say that like going into it, I did not know that it was supposed to be a comedy. I thought it was more like in the thriller genre, and like it is a black comedy horror, and it does kind of balance between those two, and it has aspects of each one. Um, but I think that didn't matter. Like what I thought the genre was doesn't really matter. It's more that I was left a little underwhelmed the whole time, and I didn't love everything about it. Um, yeah, I think the pacing was off, and I'll talk about that. I think it was a little too quick. I didn't love the direction. Um, I love Anya Taylor Joy, and I think Ray Fiennes was great in this. And um, I think the second half is a lot stronger than the first half. The first half was kind of leaning into like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going, and I thought it was kind of predictable. But in the second half, I found that I was getting a little more surprised. Um, yeah, and I guess generally, like I thought the movie was going to be kind of like think Yorgos Lanthimos kind of level, and
Mhm.
like very like astute, and or even like Ruben Ostlund, who did Triangle of Sadness. Like I thought it would be a little more like high art, and like that's how like the film style would have been. And so like I was just wrong on that, and so I was a little bit surprised when just generally it was a little more of a mainstream movie, which I think is fine. So I would give it like a 3.5, so like still fairly positive, but um definitely go into it knowing that it's like a comedy and like a black comedy, and so yeah, like I think it was pretty good. That's kind of like yeah. Just getting a lot of blank stares back
Yeah,
at me. This is
we'll get
great.
into it.
We
Well, I
will
think
get into it.
it's interesting that you made the comparison with Triangle, because I feel like this and Triangle, even though like what they're trying to do are similar, like the way they delivered that was very different. Like Triangle is very over the
Yes.
top, I felt like, and
I
this
like
movie
this
is
a lot
so,
more than Triangle.
I felt like this one is much more grounded than Triangle
That's actually
if you
interesting.
compare the two.
Peter saw Triangle. Sasha, did you end up seeing Triangle?
Not yet.
Okay, so those of us who have seen Triangle, I think I like Triangle more than this.
Triangle is
honest.
definitely a funnier film. If you go in
I
For
disagree.
expecting more
I
comedy.
100% disagree. I laughed a lot
Oh,
in this film. I think
yeah.
Triangle wasn't very funny at all.
Really?
You
Okay.
like hated Triangle though. So,
I
like,
didn't hate
you
it.
had a
Like
very
I gave it like
contrarian
3.5 stars. I just don't think like I think this movie also does a better job of exploring its themes than Triangle. Triangle thinks it's doing a good job, but it isn't.
I think that's fair. I think you can make that argument. I think that's yeah. I think I wish that like it had explored its themes a little more. It was getting close, and I think it does do a better job.
This one
generally
is
than
definitely
Triangle.
more subtle than Triangle, like in terms of theme exploration.
No,
It doesn't.
I think
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
would not
either are
call this one-
particularly subtle.
I wouldn't call this subtle at all because, like, literally in the discussion points that I sent you guys, one of them is obvious, like just the opposite of subtle. But
I don't think
before-
it's like I don't think it beats you over. We'll get into it, but I don't think it beats you over the head.
It doesn't
Yeah.
beat you over the head too much. But anyways, before we get into our full discussion, we have to do a little thing. We have to do a synopsis. Now, we've done some, what would you call that? Self-reflection.
Yeah.
We've done some self-reflection and realized this segment takes too long frequently. Last time it stretched all the way to 10 minutes. And so we have a plan. We have a plan, listeners. We are going to implement a new rule for our synopsis section. It's going to be a hard 2-minute deadline. So it'll be quite a quick, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get the synopsis in 2 minutes. So I think Aidan, as the loser of the Metacritic score guessing game, you have to do the 2-minute synopsis. So
Okay.
do you have a
first
timer?
of all, pew 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 pew. Spoiler time. Spoiler
Thank
time.
you. Yeah,
Okay. Do you want to run a timer for me?
I sure can.
Okay. Count me down.
Well, I'll just show you on my screen. Like I'll just flip
Sure.
it like this. Hopefully it's not backwards.
I just mean like before you start the timer, count me down.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
ready? Are you ready?
Yeah. I am.
Ready? Okay.
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we open with our main characters, Margot and Tyler, boarding a boat, and they're on their way to a very exclusive restaurant that's on an isolated island with this world-renowned chef. We're introduced to a couple of characters. One of them is like a famous actor. Two are like this couple that are kind of old and they've been to the restaurant a bunch of times. 3 are these douchey investment bro type guys who are embezzling money. As we get into it, the movie basically follows the structure of the main chef, Rafe Fiennes, is delivering them various courses. The film is structured by the courses, and they're all different digs at the people. It's revealed that Rafe Fiennes has this plan to kill everyone there, including his crew, because of like the corruption of his art form, and he hates like what he's become and consumerism and all that. As we go on, but Anya Taylor-Joy's character Margot is not actually supposed to be there. She is filling in for Tyler's girlfriend, and it is revealed that she is an escort. So we have some conflict in there. She winds up like Rafe Fiennes recognizes that she's not supposed to be there, so he invites her to be part of the crew, and she kind of is one of them for a little bit. But she manages to kind of sneak away, and she gets to a shortwave radio because things have gone really bad. They've killed people. A guy's shot himself in the mouth. They've cut off a guy's finger. It's gone really bad. So we think that Anya Taylor-Joy has brought their saviors in, but it turns out the Coast Guard is an actor from the crew. That sucks. And so it looks like all hope is lost, but Anya Taylor-Joy says that she first sends back the food, and then she requests that Ray Fiennes make her a cheeseburger, invoking feelings of like, why
10
he
seconds.
started cooking. Yeah, why he started cooking, which is like to actually make something that people care about and make it with care and give it to people. And she winds up escaping, but everyone else dies, and they're like s'mores with chocolate and marshmallow. They die.
Was that the timer?
Yes, it was. Very good.
Oh my
It should have been a
God.
more interesting timer sound, but very good. And we got our 2-minute synopsis, and we can move on now. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's get into our discussion of this movie. So first,
Yeah, so this movie kind of reminded me of
holy
E.T.
shit! Oh yeah, I was really surprised. Okay, so I'm gonna have to break the veil of mystery. We took a little break and we started talking about the terminal, and then how did we get to the other one? Aidan said Ready Player One when we were about to start potting again, and then I was like, how many Spielberg references can we get in this? So now I've ruined the joke. Sasha, is that what are you holding? It's a red Solo cup that's like covered
No,
in like
it's a
car
rainbow.
oil.
No, it's
You know?
it's a metal. Yeah, it's the same shape and size as one of those red Solo cups, but it's metal and it's a rainbow cup. Jasper got it for me for like my birthday a couple years ago or something.
You know when like when oil spills
Yes.
on like pavement and it has a
Yeah.
puddle? It looks like that.
Yeah,
Like,
it looks
exactly
like
that
thin
color.
film interference. Yeah, but it's just a cool color scheme.
Anyways, we have a movie that we're supposed to be
Sure do.
discussing right now, and it was supposed to be a comedy movie. So, Sasha, what did you think about the comedy?
I thought I didn't really pick up on it a lot. I mean, from the trailer, like I know in the trailer there's that one scene where Elsa's talking to them, and she's like, we grow, we ferment, whatever, and we gel. And Mara's like, they gel, we gel. And so I thought that was like that's kind of funny. And so I thought like from that I was like, okay, this isn't just gonna be like a horror movie. Like it's gonna have some comedic elements to it. I definitely thought they were there. Like I think they played up the like finance bro thing, the trope a lot. That was kind of funny. There were a few lines like that that Ray Fiennes had that were funny. Like I think the whole idea of like this kind of cult around him of like the staff was there was some comedic element to that. Generally, though, I didn't see a lot of it. I thought it was more like I would say it was like probably 80-20 or 85-15 like drama to comedy. I think it was still there, but
Sure.
I wouldn't put emphasis on the comedy part if I had to tell somebody about this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is, to be fair, it's a black comedy, so usually in those kind of films, it's not trying to be super like outgoing funny as like a general comedy. So I think a lot of it leans into horror, like you said, and the blackness of the comedy, and just trying to be like super dark and setting up that like dark tone.
Yeah, I didn't think this was like a knee slapper. Like at no point was I like I wasn't like darn tootin', hootin' and hollering, if you know what I mean.
Is that a Spielberg movie?
yeah. So but I was thinking like it does remind me of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Just kidding. No, I was gonna say. No, I thought the movie. One of the things I was concerned about as it was going on. I was like, okay, am I gonna like the balance of comedy to drama, thriller, horror, whatever? And I actually quite liked it. I thought it picked its comedy spots really well, and I thought that like a lot of the comedy that I really loved was just like the background stuff that was happening, and it was something that like if you caught it, it was like, oh, that's funny. Like there's one line right near the beginning where the actor guy he makes that kind of awkward joke to the finance bros, and then we kind of cut away from them. We follow Margot and Tyler walking into the other room, and we hear him say, "Because we're on a boat." And like it's just like funny lines like that like they're always in the movie. I thought that shit was so funny. Like I was chuckling and giggling throughout this whole thing, like when it wanted me to.
Yeah,
so.
There you go.
The other thing is I was thinking about this earlier today and yesterday as well, but the other movie, and we'll probably allude to this later on when we go into the other points, but another movie this kind of was reminiscent of, vaguely, tangentially, is Game Night with Bateman and Rachel McAdams. And like obviously two very different movies. They're obviously trying to accomplish different goals, but premise wise, they're kind of evoke the same things. And so like the comedy level in that one is very different, obviously, but they're similar in terms of what the story they're trying to get across. And so yeah, I think obviously the menu wasn't going for that at all. They're nowhere near that level, but I think they tried to include that comedy. I think they did to some extent. But yeah, it wasn't like super explicit, and that obviously wasn't the goal of it.
Yeah, I think it was funny though. Like even though like I didn't know going into it was supposed to be funny, I was laughing at particular times. Not as much as like Bros or even Triangle of Sadness. I was laughing a lot more personally.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think trying to think of some funny things that happened, but I can't really like remember too many.
One
There's
that
Tyler's
yeah
bullshit
that's what I was
pretty
going to say.
funny.
Is Tyler's bullshit was hilarious.
And the birthday cake. The birthday cake joke would have been funnier if I hadn't seen it in the trailer.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like yeah, like I thought it was pretty funny. There's a bit of like poking fun at fine dining, and it's not quite as egregious as it was in Triangle of Sadness because they made like a very obvious joke against fine dining in that movie.
Yeah.
And I think Aidan and I agreed that it was kind of like, okay, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
And I did feel like a bit of that, but I mean, I think as a whole, like this movie had a bit of a reverence for fine dining instead of a disdain, and I really did appreciate that.
I liked the way it handled fine dining, how it was like the problem with his cooking, as it's revealed in the end, isn't that like it's fine dining. It's that like he's kind of lost the care he puts into it. Like when he makes the cheeseburger, that isn't saying cheeseburger better, go to McDonald's, fuck fine dining. It's just saying like this is something he cared about, and he was like, oh, I'm crafting something that someone's gonna really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that. But I mean, yeah, on Sasha's point, like it is a bit of a duel between comedy and horror, or maybe one might say a war of the worlds. That are both
and Apocalypse too.
Peter, what do you want to say?
I'm with Sasha on this one. Like I chuckled a couple of times, but I don't think this movie overall was that funny. Like there were a couple jokes I laughed at, but like majority, like I think I was just so grabbed by the tension that the movie built up that I wasn't in a state where I can just comfortably laugh at some comedic moments, you know.
Yeah, were you in the Twilight Zone, the movie?
How does that make sense?
This is a stupid game, and I'm not playing it anymore. Anyways, let's just move on from this. Let's talk about the direction and the cinematography. I really didn't like it. I'm just gonna go.
I loved it.
I didn't. I'm in between you guys, so I didn't.
No!
I didn't love it. Like I think that it was quite standard in a lot of ways. Like I think that one of the notes I wrote regarding cinematography was uggo lighting sometimes, and I think that's true. I think sometimes the lighting is like, I don't know, like it's like the face is in shadow, and it doesn't feel like that's a stylistic choice. It just feels like the face isn't lit well. And it's like, I didn't like that, but I actually did really like, I think I liked how in the beginning, like the various tables in the dining room are directed differently. Like you can feel a difference in pace in their conversations. And this is ameliorated by editing as well. But I actually really liked, I think the directing worked really well with characterization. And I think we got a really good sense of who the characters were without using really obvious dialogue. And I think a lot of that was direction.
Yeah, and I think like the way the conversation between tables are interweaved into each other is very cool.
I like that too. Yeah.
And like I have a big point on like the way some of the scenes were shot. First of all, the way they introduced all the courses, I thought that was like a fine touch. I really enjoyed it.
That was so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
With like, yeah.
And also, I don't know if you guys seen this show called Hannibal, but like Hannibal, in like Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal, he is
Matt
like
Mix.
there are lots of cooking scenes in Hannibal, and like the way sort of like they made cooking such an ethereal experience is like quite amazing. You know, like I kid you not, like I'm not a huge horror fan, and like I know Hannibal is like, you know, it has horror elements in it, but there was a compilation on YouTube that's like Hannibal cooking compilation, and I watched that and I was like, dude, I need to watch this show. Um, like they did something similar here where they almost like levitate the cooking experience into something more than just food. You know, the way they execute the dishes, like the many of times that they describe cooking, we gel, or like Nicholas Holt's character is making like mouthfeel or stuff like that. Like they sort of turn cooking into almost like a sexual experience, which is sort of like, uh, well, like I mean, and some of the way it's shot,
Okay.
like the shots were very intimate, I guess is what I'm trying to get out. Like the shots of them cooking, and they turned like just a standard, very procedural action into something beautiful, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Just some like facts. Apparently they got like, yeah, I think the DP or the director of Chef's Table, like the Netflix series,
Oh, yeah.
he was the second unit director.
Oh,
Ooh.
cool.
So like they had a guy from that world.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think it was a good decision. And so he would have been doing a lot of the inserts work for like.
I thought those
so
were so fun. I loved
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
great.
So like a second unit director, for those who don't know, usually does things that don't involve the main cast or are like very niche things. So like action scenes are often second unit directors, or like in this movie it would have been more likely the food things. So I think that was interesting, and I think it shows. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like the direction, I think what Aiden was getting at was like it's pretty generic, and I just feel like the whole thing was like kind of like what I said. It was a little obvious for the beginning. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was all right. It's a lot of like what do you call it? Like rotating shots
Yeah.
around the tables, like using a slider, and
But I really
it's
liked. I don't think this movie isn't trying to be an art movie. I think like you said, like it's
Yeah.
trying to be a more mainstream movie. I think it works well for what it's trying to do. And I think that in both in writing and directing, you're supposed to think you have this movie figured out in the first half of it. You're supposed to feel that way, and then it starts to twist and turn, and you're like, oh, where I don't actually know where this is going. So
Yeah.
I don't see those things as necessarily flaws. I think that my real take of this movie is I think it just accomplishes what it sets out to do quite well.
And what's interesting is Mark Mylod. He's hasn't done a whole lot of movies, so he hasn't directed a feature in 11 years actually, and he's done 3 features. What he has been doing in the meantime is mostly television. So he did, I think it said 6 episodes of Game of Thrones, starting in season 5. So I think he did 2 and 5, 2 and 6, and maybe 2 and 7. And he did quite a few episodes of Succession, actually, a show that I really like.
Oh yeah.
And so he does a lot of the first 2 episodes of the season and last 2 episodes of the season. Like he gets into that pattern and does those ones for Succession specifically. So I think that shows a little bit, like, because a lot of this, like you said, is people talking over each other, and I think that would have been like good. That would have been like in his realm of experience. Yeah. Only other thing I have for this point is that I picked up on this pretty quickly, and I wasn't sure if I was right, and it turns out I was. The background of like the sea, like through the shot of the window in the restaurant. So like there's a huge window in the restaurant, and you can see the ocean. And I was watching, and I was like, something's weird about like how it's like the people look weird when behind their head is the window and then the ocean background. And so very quickly I was like, is that the volume?
Oh
Like,
no.
is that the
Oh, it is.
3D screens?
Yeah.
And while I wasn't right that it was blue screen.
Oh.
So it's actually a step below the volume. And I think that checks out because like I said, it was a weird kind of like it's the outline of the people's head looks kind of weird and bright, or I don't know what it was, but like it is a little odd because yeah, the restaurant was built on a studio, at least the interiors.
I didn't notice
Yeah,
that, but if that does, that's not good.
yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
thought like just the background, the ocean background never changes, and it's very like soft, and there's no like texture to it. Like you don't see the waves or anything.
Mm,
Um, but that's a small thing. Let's talk about pacing and
sure.
editing. This is the first thing I wrote down in the movie. It's pacing at the start, especially, is very fast. I found it to be
Which I think is
edited like
good.
uh,
I I
I
don't
didn't care
want.
for it, but
I don't think the first thing I wrote down actually was, do we need this first scene? And I was thinking like, man, like I don't give a fuck about like all this prior stuff. I think we do need the first scene because you need to see like normal. I didn't think it's important, but like I really liked how the movie was developing the plot and characters in tandem with each other. Like it wasn't like
yeah,
we're sitting in the first act and we're going and going and then we're gonna wrap it up. I really liked how it like it kind of speeds us into the interesting part of the movie and then it slows down a little bit there. And then I think I actually quite like the pacing. I found myself never bored in this movie and never feeling like I wanted to linger on a moment more.
interesting. I think you're right in that like it is trying to get to the interesting part quickly, which is it's good for people who want to get there quickly. But like I found myself, I think I wrote down kind of like in a food pun way, like I wanted to savor the moment a
Hmm.
little more,
But I feel
and
like
it just
there's
felt
no
like
moment to savor. Sorry, I cut you off.
I I I disagree. I like I really like Anya Taylor Joy as an actor, and I wish that the scenes at the beginning had just a little more room to breathe. It's not as egregious as Black Adam was, but it's the same general realm of issue in that every shot isn't held long enough. I just wanted some more pauses. I just feel like it speeds through quite a bit. It levels out when you get to the restaurant somewhat. I do think that the movie could have been longer. Like it's only what, an hour 46. I think it could have been a 2 hour movie. Like
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
so.
I I just think in the way it's well, okay, maybe not 2 hours. That's a lot more content, but I just feel like they trimmed the hell out of it. I think, and I think well, it was the same with See How They Run. That movie felt too short because they
Sure,
wanted to get it into a runtime that would
but that had
appeal
big
to more
pacing
audiences.
issues. I think
That
this
one had
one.
really big.
I think this one is more intentional than you're saying. We have two hands poking up though, and I'll let.
I know, I know. I'll just one last thing. I found that also the pacing kind of ruined some of the jokes. So like
Okay.
the birthday cake joke was very sudden, and there wasn't a lot of build up to it.
Mm.
I still like the punchline, but yeah, I think the pacing wasn't great. Let's hear from Peter.
So I don't think pacing is a huge issue for me personally. It's just like at the beginning, I want to learn a lot more about the characters, and sometimes the conversations happen really quickly, and you can't catch all the points. And
Yeah,
but like
Yeah, but you learn about them as it goes on, and
yeah,
I think that's better.
that's what I'm gonna say because like there is like a scene later on where Ray finds basically like literally tells you what's wrong with these guys, and like there's usually like a scene where you have like the characters reveal like what they've done in their life that made them sort of who they are, or like why did they do bad things. Like they made it obvious later on, which sort of makes up for it. But like it would be nice if the conversation is a little longer or it's like slow down a little bit. I agree with Alex on that.
thank you, Sasha.
I think to speak to like the aspect of the pacing and like especially at the beginning, I think I know like one thing I noticed is that like when they start introducing all the dishes and like they cut away to the insert shot of each dish and then they have the description of it. It seems like there were some that I was like, wait, did they actually introduce this? Like the ones at the beginning, I remember like, okay, yes, they definitely showed this, they showed this, but then after I'm like, wait, did we get an introduction shot for this? Like I couldn't remember. So I think either that's just me being forgetful, or I think it was kind of it became like each course became really more drawn out later on, which is like natural because the whole sequence where Margot goes to the chef's house and then like has to go And then there's the fight scene there with Elsa, and like where when she's going to get the barrel, and so that obviously is just naturally going to be longer. But it was a little bit. I found it kind of inconsistent in that way because, um, partly because of what was happening, but I think it was kind of like the effect that it had was like you were kind of confused as to what had happened and what was going to happen still. It was hard to predict what was to come a little bit.
Interesting.
I like that it was kind of off. I think it was trying to put you off kilter a little bit, but I think I liked that. One thing I will say, one critique I had of editing is that I agree that there were certain shots where I was like, oh, I wish they just held on this shot more. But I didn't notice that at all during the beginning. It was the biggest example I can think of this is there's one shot when the angel investor is being lowered into the ocean and he's drowning. There's a shot where it's from the outside of the building and it's looking through the window, and we also see in the reflection of the window that the angel investor is being lowered down. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is sick. They're gonna hang on that shot and we're just gonna see the whole thing go down. And then it cuts, like, I think during him being lowered, there's like 8 or 9 cuts. Like there's like a lot.
Oh, really?
It's like a lot. And I was like, I think this would have been a cool moment just to see it. Like, I think that would have been a lot more horrifying. Like, it wasn't necessarily a pacing thing for me. It was that certain moments were undercut by not hanging on a certain shot more.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. No, I don't think the editing was perfect. This isn't going to get like an editing Oscar by any means. So, let's move on to our next point. A point that I called obvious, and I might be the only person here, so I'll just explain my thoughts.
Yeah, it wasn't very obvious.
Good one, yeah. I think, especially at the beginning, I was like, I felt like I was very aware what was going on, and I found it kind of predictable, and I was like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Like, it's very clearly about class. I found that it wasn't like, bash you over the head with it, but like it definitely wasn't subtle. I mean, to know that it was supposed to be a comedy, probably I would have been like, oh, okay, then fair enough, whatever, it's a comedy. And I think, yeah, like I had wanted a more of a puzzle or like a thriller out of this, but that's just a matter of tone, and I guess you can't really complain that a movie wasn't what you wanted it to be. But
I guess,
yeah, I think my main complaint was that like it's a little predictable. And I don't know if this fits in here, but like, when Ralph Fiennes does like the clapping thing,
yeah,
and the yes shot, like I just found that really annoying and pretentious after a while,
Oh.
or even from the beginning. Yeah, I didn't find it, like I felt like it was like trying to be very clever with the sound design. But I think Aidan wanted to say something first.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's interesting because I wouldn't say this movie's really about class. I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's the main focus. I think that like you're definitely supposed to right off the beginning think, okay, it's like this chef is punishing these rich assholes. Like 100%, you're supposed to think that. I don't think the movie is under the impression that the audience doesn't know that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about like art and art in relation to consumerism and that entanglement. I think one of the more interesting and revealing lines is towards the end when he talks about how, like, in order to get to this echelon of his craft, of his art, like, he is now serving people that he hates to serve and who don't appreciate it, and like so like the commercialization of art, but then also like the pretentiousness of artists often, and like because you're supposed to kind of side with the chef a little bit and think like, yeah, these guys are assholes and they deserve to be punished a little bit, but then also it's like he thinks he's doing this grand thing that's going to like make a change and right things, but it's nothing. It's ultimately nothing. And I think that speaks to this, like, some artists get so full of themselves that they have this idea that they bear the weight of the world on their shoulders and they're going to, within a single brushstroke, like fix a problem or something. And it's like, that's not how that works. And it's like, so there's a certain amount of, yes, your art has been corrupted and that's an external factor, but you've also become diluted through that process too. And I thought that it actually did a very good job of like slowly laying that out for you towards the end, and you really understand that that's what it is. So I saw it more about art in general than class specifically.
I think it's both. I think it can be both about class. I think class is very heavily in part of the DNA of the movie, but I
But I
I,
think
I 100% agree that
it's
it's also
purposely
about
trying to make that obvious. I don't think that's like
okay.
that's not the thing you're supposed to dig into. Hey,
Okay,
hey,
that's an
food
interesting.
pun. Hey, dig in, yeah,
Oh, food
yeah.
pun. Peter, what do you think?
Well, like I think I agree that it's definitely trying to make commentary on class, but I again, sorry, Alex. I think Aiden's right on this one. Um,
Okay, I'll be the black sheep for this movie.
so I think like it's not like for me, I think it's less about art than more about food, but I guess it can be expanded to art as a whole. But like I really love how it sort of paints you a picture of the story of this chef, how he started and where he ended up now, and how he sort of forgot about like why he enjoys cooking in the first place, and the way that Margot sort of like bring that back into him, which is like a really lovely story, really. And also on your point about sound design and the clapping, I thought it was actually really clever because like the clap is like the loudest sound that like in throughout the whole movie. Like it's very pronounced, and also you hear right away. It's sort of like it sort of snaps you back into like this sort of commanding figure,
Mhm.
commanding like his kitchen basically. And I thought it's like a really powerful moment every time he did it. Like it frightened the guest, and also I sort of like it sort of frightened the audience as well. Like it's like what's he gonna do next?
Do you know what movie this movie kind of reminded me of in some parts?
What?
Pig. And I think like
No, no, you're
thematic.
a hundred
Yeah,
percent
I
right. I
was
was
thinking
thinking
about
that
Pig
during the movie.
multiple
Yes,
times. Yeah.
which is funny because I also don't care for that movie.
Oh, I love Pig. I love
I know,
Pig.
and I
So
know you
yeah,
like that movie. I don't like fine dining movies.
You
Like, just
don't
it's
you
get out
not
don't
of
like
about
my life.
fine dining. That's not what the movie's about.
It's
Not
the
really.
setting. It's the setting. I
dude,
just, I
you don't like
really
Nicolas
don't.
Cage digging truffles?
Dude, it's so good.
No, I didn't like that movie. Um. Anyways, your point about the clapping. I think the movie is very aware of like, and like the creator of the movie is very aware. Cameo from Peter's housemate. Um, um, I think the movie's very aware of that, like the commanding, whatever, the clap, and like it thinks it's being very smart with the clap, and I think it was a little
When you
too
guys,
much and like too obvious.
sorry, when you guys say that, when you say it thinks it's being smart with the clap, what do you mean by that? Because I didn't see it as being. I didn't think that
So
they thought they were tricking me or something.
Oh no, I
no, no,
don't
no,
think
not
it
like
is like that. Like for me, I think the clap is just like
you like
uh
the clap. What are you trying to explain here? I'm
no,
I'm the one who.
he said we said it was smart, and
Well,
I
you
think
both
it's
said it was.
yeah.
You said it wasn't
Okay,
clever, and you said it was, but I didn't think of it in terms of cleverness at all.
I
Peter
just
did
think
explain
of
it.
it like when the clap happens, it's sort of like obviously it may like at first they were like, oh wow, this chef has like really disciplined kitchen, and then but as the movie progresses, the clap sort of is like symbolizes the next course, right? And then eventually when they get to dessert, it's like the end of the meal and the end of their lives. So like the clap progressively turned into like a symbol of horror almost, and I thought that transition was really smart and very cool because it
I
frightened the guests and it frightened like the audience as well. It's like, what's he gonna do next? What's the next twist that he's gonna pull in the course? You know?
I thought it was like a
And
good narrative. I thought it functioned well as that, but I didn't think it was like a super clever thing. I don't think it was trying to be a super clever thing either. Sorry, Alex, what were you gonna say?
Because like it's very pronounced. Like when you
yeah,
hear the clap,
Yeah,
it's very loud. You know?
yeah.
yeah.
I just think it's too much. I
But too
also
much
think
of
like I
what? I
don't.
don't understand them. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm
Okay.
not
Okay.
trying to be rude. I just don't. I straight up don't
No. 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 I
understand the
know.
point.
I understand that you're like just confused. Like I think I didn't like how like they boosted the sound, and I think it was like I honestly don't know if it was a clap. It sounded like a whip at times. Like I think they might have added some other sounds in there. No, I'm serious. Like I think that's a filmmaking thing.
No, I
Like
think you're
add
right.
in fake like sounds that aren't
Yeah.
real to enhance it. So I think they did that. Um, and I think it was like trying really hard to go into that high end cinema like we were talking about because most of the movie isn't. It's not like any high art. Like it's like what I said, Yorgos Lanthimos or Ruben
Sure.
Östlund, like that kind of like cinematic whatever.
Mhm.
It that was one of the cases where I was like, oh, it's trying to do something really like that, and I just felt like it was a little forced, the whole
Oh.
clapping thing, and like they're trying to make like a big thing out of it, like, oh man, he's clapping, and oh, I'm gonna scare you with this clap, and I was like,
I didn't see it as anything like they were trying to be artsy or more complicated. I thought it was just like a good way to signal the next. Like it's a good way to change the scene. Like that's how I saw it. Like it's a good way
think,
to
yeah.
shift the scene, and I didn't think it was anything more than that.
I think even if it had just started off more subtle and then progressively, because I think from the beginning it's a close-up shot of him doing the hands and a loud sound. So if from the start it had been just like a wide shot of him doing it, and as it goes on, it gets louder and closer, I think that might have been fine for me. I think just
Okay.
going so hard from the start and making it so intense, I was like, okay, calm down for like a bit. But anyways, let's get into the movie and start talking about things.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about, let's talk about the bread.
Sure.
I
Or
thought
lack
that was pretty
thereof.
clever.
Yeah, that was
The
cool.
bread dish, the breadless bread dish. It was very like so for those who didn't see, like he talks about how bread is often a symbol for the poor, and seeing as he's feeding the rich, they don't get the bread. They get like all the sauces or whatever you would put on the bread, and that's all they have to eat is those little sauces. So like I thought that was pretty clever. That was kind of fun. It was a fun little gag.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good way, like, because they progressively escalate the way that they're making fun of and attacking the rich people, and I thought that's a good way. Like it starts out, and you could like sort of like it's definitely a fuck you, but it could be a playful fuck you, and so they're not immediately turned off by it. I thought it helped with the build.
Mm-hmm. Sasha?
I thought in terms of like the idea, it was like, I mean, on the one hand, I was like laughing because it's like, yeah, like it's just funny that it's like, oh yeah, you get everything but then on the other hand, it's like, ooh, look at me, like I'm gonna give you all these like nice accoutrements, but you don't get the bread. Ugh, I'm so fancy. But like the other thing too that I found really funny is like the food critic. She's like, oh yes, this emulsion is broken, and then they just keep giving her bowls.
Yeah.
Here's another broken emulsion for you. And so I think it was like, I think that's one of the comedic elements to it, which is kind of, it was like a comic relief throughout. It's just one of those background things that I thought was worked well there because it was very subtle. But that was the one like really memorable thing. The other thing is like that was one of the many moments where Tyler is like, you know, you can see like how he like because like the contrast between him and Margot is like she's like, you know, trying to be rational about it. It's like, okay, well, this is stupid because we're literally just eating like oils and like whatever toppings. It's like, oh no, it's so like it's so profound. It's like, okay, no, shut the fuck up. Like you're literally just eating sauce from a spoon. Like nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
So I thought that kind of was one of the, I think one of the best examples of him like being one of those foodie people and exemplifying that attitude towards the food.
Peter?
Dude, and honestly, I don't know if you guys seen, but there's this show on Hulu. I think it's on, like, if you have Amazon Prime.
The Bear?
Sorry?
The Bear?
No. It's The Great.
That's a cooking show.
It's
The
basically Nicholas Hoult and Ellen Fanning.
Oh yeah,
I'm
where
not
he's like
sure if it's like
he's like the czar of
her
Russia or whatever.
her sister. But like basically, like Nicholas Hoult is the exact same guy from that show.
Yeah,
like
no,
he's
you're
just
right,
like
yeah.
dumb and like silly, like being ridiculous in every single scenario. He's just that guy with an American accent, basically.
Okay, cool. I thought you were going to talk about the cooking show The Bear, and so it's funny that it was completely different.
No.
Okay. Another meal that I have written down to talk about is The Mess. I think this was probably the first meal where it's like, oh, I like what they're doing. Like I wasn't surprised. As soon as they rolled out the thing, I was like the tarp, I was like, oh, someone's dying.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And so like, you know, it was still in the realm of like, oh, I know what's going to happen before it happens. But I really did like the scene. And I think the idea of it was really interesting. For those who didn't see it, like The Mess is basically one of the chefs is trying so hard to be like Ralph Fiennes' character, but he's not good enough. And so he commits suicide. And it's not, they don't like serve him up, which would be really dark, but like they serve his dish after he kills himself. So
it's not that he's not good enough.
Well, Aiden can explain after, but Peter actually raised his hand first, so let's hear from Peter.
Well, Aidan, I think I'll why don't you explain it and then
Okay, clarify
we'll
first, whatever.
Sure.
But like,
yeah,
just
why don't you
talk.
explain it and then we'll comment on it. Yeah.
Me? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more about like how like this utter devotion to this thing and to being the greatest and being great and being exactly like Ray Fiennes' character has like diluted and corrupted like the passion, like the reason he's into cooking in general. And so it's like it's kind of like a soullessness. Like he's gone to a point where in pursuing his dreams, he kind of ruined his life, even though he kind of achieved them. Like it's not really about his cooking talent. It's more a commentary on like obsession and like the obsessiveness of I think an artist, but in this case specifically a chef, I guess.
Sure. No,
Yeah,
I think that's
totally.
fair.
And I think like what's so cool about it is the final two questions Ray Fine asked him. It's like, do you think you've like do you think you've achieved this? And he's like, I think he said yes, chef, or no, chef. I forgot. But then like the final question really hit me. It was like, do you want my life? And then he said no, chef.
Yeah.
And that really hit me. It's like it, all the things you've seen, yeah, you've interacted with this person for so long, you've devoted your life of becoming this person, but then when you eventually see like the life he's living, you don't want to become him because you don't want to carry his burdens and like his griefs, and like you're at a point where you somehow like it's like never meeting your hero, almost sort of like that. It's like you've seen the person who he truly is, and then your dreams are shattered basically in that state. And I thought it was very poetic that he killed himself, and that's also like a turning point in the movie where like shit started getting real. So
The other thing is, if I remember correctly, I think it's the same. Like Jeremy, the chef who dies in this scene, he's the same chef that Tyler talks to at the beginning, like right when they first get to the restaurant. And
oh,
I think
there's
you're right.
I'm fairly certain it was the same chef, but I think they like this conversation that they have, like it's um Tyler's kind of showing he's like, oh, is that it's like you made that with a Paco jet, right? And so he's like talking about all these things, and so it's like, and Jeremy's like, oh yeah, you know your stuff. And so I think that was kind of like, obviously his death was planned, but it was like um that was kind of putting it, it's like, oh, this guest who's dining at my restaurant who you would think is, going to be wowed by this food, is like, okay, well, even this person is like, even he knows all these things and he can do that too. So it's like, what does that say about my skill and my life? Does it undermine it? And I think that was something that it indicates. Another thing is like what Margot says after, she says you're not even going to ask him his name, because Tyler's like, oh, you know my name. It's like, but you're not even going to ask him his. And so it's like he's treating him just as this, another cog in the machine, in the restaurant machine, just making food, and it makes his job and life by extension seem menial. And I think that contributes to the despair and the sorrow that drives him to his death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that one of the other things I really liked about this scene was it's another example of like something happening in the background that like it's just like is quick, and like it's something that you either catch or you don't, or you notice or you don't. Not that it's like hidden, but like before you know that he's going to shoot himself, you see people out of
Yeah,
focus in the
the
background
blinds.
pulling the blinds across the
Yeah.
kitchen, and I like there's a bunch of stuff like that in the movie, and I think that's great.
Yeah, it was a good detail. Yeah.
Yo, can we
I
also
realized-
can we also talk about the reaction to that scene? How like some guest was like, "This is all part of the
That
show,
was
right?"
it was a good escalation of that same thing, I think, as well, where it's like if you were in that restaurant, like would you believe a guy really just killed himself like in front of you? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, I think you guys are right on that. And it's more believable, or it's more believable that it could be like a stunt if it's the staff member. But then when you escalate later and the
Yeah.
customer starts getting affected, you're like not
Yeah.
quite as sure. I realized that I hadn't included some of the other meals, so we might as well just bang them out as well. So
Sure.
one that we skipped was I don't know what they called it, but I'm calling it the ecosystem. I just really liked that one. I
Rock?
think maybe the reviewer, yeah, the rock thing.
Yeah.
So I think the reviewer says it's like we're eating an entire ecosystem.
Yeah, we're
And I
eating
really
the
like
ocean.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So she says we're eating the ocean, but somebody says we're eating an entire ecosystem, and I just
That's very
love how
fast.
like
Yeah.
that's like
Beautifully put.
that's class.
Yeah.
It's class commentary. Like
Right.
the rich, just like or and even just like people in general, how food is like taking stuff from the entire ecosystem, and it's like a very destructive force.
That is
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That is very interesting.
And I liked how it was like it was taking things from nature and like supposedly you're supposed to turn into something beautiful, but instead of it, it's this kind of like it's just this fuck you, like, and I think that works.
Well, okay. I agree. Like Alex, I find like your point about the rich eating the entire ecosystem, that's very interesting. But Aidan, to your point about like food in general, I think the way Nicholas Holt's character puts it, Tyler puts it, is actually very accurate. He said he doesn't give a shit about all the other artists, but he really likes chefs because they're almost like gods in a way that they they use raw materials and produce something beautiful. And I
Sure.
think that's such a powerful way to describe cooking. You know?
But he's what I'm saying is that Ray Fiennes in this course isn't making something beautiful, and so like it ties.
Yeah.
It ties
Okay.
Is it?
no, but it's like it's just this kind of like a little bit of a petulant, self-absorbed like diss at somebody instead
sure.
of taking it to make something beautiful.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's very like
sure,
this
sure.
is fine dining, like this is what you
Yeah.
would expect. It's not I like making this. It's here's the ecosystem. It's
Yeah.
very like what's the
Egotistic?
word?
It's making fun of
Yeah.
the soullessness like of it. You know what I mean? Like I think
It's
that's what's
pompous.
getting. Yeah.
It's pompous. Yeah. Sasha?
Well, there's another line where he says something about like, oh, I'm just putting this together and it's just gonna turn to shit in your stomach. It's like, well, okay, if that's the end goal of it, why go through this destructive thing? Why ruin an entire ecosystem?
Well, okay, that's
Because he's like
in,
lost
a
his faith in
that's
that.
a different context, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different context, but it's just like you could apply it there and be like, okay, well,
I think
here,
it fits in. Yeah.
it's like those two things together. It's like it's part of the mockery of the fine dining. It's like why go through all this effort if it's literally just gonna, literally end up in the toilet, and you'll absorb some of the nutrients, but yeah, I mean that's.
Hey, do you guys know? Fun fact: do you guys know that if you eat gold leaves and like just like gold products in general, you just shit it out?
Doesn't get digested. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That. I did know that. Thanks for the fun fact, Peter. Fun facts with Peter. Can you do this every week? Actually, can you bring a fun fact for the week and then just randomly drop it in? I think that'd be really funny. No, I think it's interesting though. Like cooking is one of the only art forms that it's destroyed to be consumed.
Yeah.
Like consuming that art form, it is then destroyed and rendered into poop. So not many other like you don't eat movies and turn them into
But
poop.
I think like cooking is one of
usually not paintings. You could.
I think
just throwing that out there. You could eat paintings.
You could eat a painting, and you could eat film stock if you tried to.
That's also true. Yeah. What else could you eat? Let's name some art that you
cameras. Not directly the art itself.
It might
but
take some time. You might have to,
But you could eat a camera if you tried.
What else? Sculptures? Could you
Yep.
eat a sculpture?
Yeah.
How about like a rock bust? A bust of a head.
Well, if you broke it into small enough pieces, then you.
Yeah.
could.
Okay. Yeah. There are some metals that, like indium, you could chew like gum. So yeah.
Oh.
Do you think any statues are made of indium, Sasha?
I have no idea. All I know, what I know, I'm just. Oh.
Well, speaking of man's folly.
Whoa.
There's a dish called Man's Folly. And basically that was the moment where it was like, what'd you call it? Most dangerous game. And
yeah, and it was also kind of like Catch Me If You Can. I was sitting on that for like half an hour.
Good. Oh my god!
As soon as I looked up his movies and I saw that one, I was like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm putting this in."
That's great. That's a good callback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're good at this podcast thing. Anyways, so Man's Folly. Basically, the guys have to go run around and try not to get caught by these chefs, and the women get to eat something. Peter, I swear to God, stop touching your microphone. And also, it apparently like Ray Fiennes tried to fuck his sous chef.
Sure
They
did.
just throw that in there, and that's
Yeah.
something that like upon reflection, I was like, why did they do that? Why did they just like bring it up once and then it has no bearing on the meaning as far as I can tell? And
I think the
stuff
point
like
is
that?
just to be like how far gone he is, and like this is supposed to be a night of repentance for him, and like
Yeah,
it's
I like
it,
it from that sense. You're
you
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah. But like okay, so yeah, I like that it's like repentance and it's a night of his very like self-reflection. Um, but it implicates a lot, you know?
Mhm.
You can't just casually say he tried to fuck his sous chef because then in our current era, it's like, well, now a whole lot of questions appear, you know? And
Yeah.
it means a lot more.
Well, I think, like, to be clear, I don't think he does a good job of repenting, and I think that's part of the point of the movie is that, like I was saying
Yeah.
earlier, like what he's doing isn't really repentance. It's just like meaningless. It's this meaningless, like pseudo symbolist bullshit
It's more
and
yeah,
that his
it's
art has
art to
become.
try to yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's trying to like repent by doing more stupid art.
by
And
theater, like yeah,
it's not authentic repentance. And I think like that sort of thing like would have elevated this movie for me. I think just like I
but I
think it
think
has
that's
some great
there,
points. Hmm, I
and
don't
I
think it's
like that
not there.
I like that it's not yanked to the top of the surface of the movie.
Okay.
I like that it's woven in a little bit.
It's woven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like all the things you're saying are true. I just think I think there's a version of this movie, you know, done by a better director, maybe another polish of the script that I would have liked more.
Hmm.
So, and I see that. And
Okay.
I can't really pinpoint everything. But, anyways, people have
Sure.
things to say. Let's hear from Sasha first.
So this is one of the scenes that was in the trailer where they were running in the woods that I was like, whoa, why are they running in the woods? And then when I saw why they're running in the woods, I'm like, okay, sure. And then,
Oh my God, they're running in the woods.
well, but then the consequence was like, oh, okay, they just all got brought back to the restaurant anyway.
Yeah.
It was very,
That's funny.
there were
nothing.
definitely like, I could see the goal of like, yeah, he was trying to repent for his actions, but like, at what cost? Like, there was no cost to what happened.
Yeah.
And so it was
Dude,
just
I
like,
totally
like-
thought they're all gonna get stabbed in the leg or something.
yeah,
I
like
thought that
Because
too.
that's what
get
he
wounded or
Oh,
injured.
that's
But
right, yeah.
the only thing that happened was the one guy got a meal or like a
Yeah,
thing.
that was hilarious. That
Tyler
was
tries
very
to take a
funny.
bite. Oh, no,
Yeah.
sorry. Tyler grabs a bite of the women's dish when he comes back.
Oh no, like it was the guy hiding in the hen house.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
got
the
he got the
yeah. He got
that was pretty
the
funny.
special dish for the last man. So
Do
like,
they
I feel like-
know?
It was funny because like he's a chicken, like that's what his character is, and he's like
Right?
the chickens. I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, sure. Did
but-
they know that he was going to hide in the hen house? Because the dish is very specific to
Yeah,
his
it's very
hiding.
very egg chicken related.
Did they have like several dishes prepared, like based on where the guest was hiding? Like, okay, is he hiding in like the canoe storage shed? Let's give him a canoe. I don't know,
Like
how you
seafood
eat a
on it,
canoe,
yeah.
but
yeah.
was he? Yeah, was he hiding in the ocean? Like, give him
Yeah.
seafood, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, sorry, Sasha. I think I cut you off. Did you have anything else?
No, really. I was just gonna summarize and say, yeah, it was a weird execution and very inconsequential. It was kind of just like
I agree.
it was just like a
That's
kind
a
of
good point, yeah.
theatrical break. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. Like, I wish that there was more consequence to that, and
Yeah.
not just like it is man's folly for like trying to run away, and it's clever, but yeah, I also I thought they were gonna like totally chop off Ray Fiennes' dick in that scene.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought he was
'Cause that's-
stabbed in the dick.
Yeah,
At first, when
I thought
first
that's
saw
what
it.
she did. I thought she
Yeah.
stabbed him in the balls,
Yeah.
and it's like just in his thigh. And I was like, "That's how does it have to
You
do with a
guys are
man's
crazy.
It's
folly?"
You guys are crazy.
It references what the story he tells earlier when he
Yeah.
stabbed his father in
Same
his thigh.
scissors, and yeah. So I think it's
Yeah.
just about men's violence in
Oh.
general.
Did he say that before that scene?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the memory
Okay.
dish, and actually, let's talk about it after. But also, they use the same scissors that
Yeah.
they
Oh, I
uh,
forgot. You're right.
that they
I
serve
forgot
the
about the
memory dish
tacos.
with.
Yeah.
That's stabbed with Ray
That's
Fiennes.
clever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to talk about the conversation between the ladies in the room, though. I thought that conversation scene was so interesting. Like I love how like they just slowly came to acceptance that they're all gonna die, and then the behaviors of like the ultra rich start to like descend into chaos. Um, like at first, like I don't think any of them would like they don't seem like smoking people. And then several of them just started smoking, and then the lady was just like, "Oh yeah, just take the whole bottle," you know. They started drinking, and then I also like how they try to please the sous chef. They're like, "Oh yeah, this dish is amazing," and blah blah blah. Like,
Because she started crying.
Yeah.
For context, the sous chef started crying, and then how did you miss that? That's the whole point. So the sous chef starts crying, and then they're trying to comfort her by saying,
really,
"Your
'Cause
dish
I
is great."
thought-
How did you miss that?
I really
You
thought
think
like
the scene was-
okay, I really thought like they were trying to compliment her for a chance to get out of there, and I thought it was
Well,
hilarious.
yes, but they see her crying as an opportunity to do that. That's
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just thought it's hilarious that like she shuts it down in such a beautiful way. It's like, oh yeah, actually I came up with that idea.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
I don't know if this was
It was
this
her
scene.
idea for everyone to die. Sorry, yeah, Sasha?
I don't know if it was this scene, but it's kind of funny where like the chef's mom just walks over and grabs the wine bottle.
yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was previous to
Yeah.
like them closing the door. Yeah, let's talk about the memory dish though. Like, what's
I
the
forgot about that
point
one.
about the chef's mom being there?
I think he hates his mom, but he doesn't really explicitly say that.
Like,
Or
she's
or
just there in the background drinking, and eventually got burned alive like everyone else.
he explained it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but
I
like
think
in the
And
memory
there's a-
scene,
There's a
He
line
only-
later too where
he only
says
talked
something about
about like, oh, well, he said he just introduced everyone to his mom. I thought, like
Yeah.
in the memory scene, he only talked about like how his dad's always drunk, then his mom screamed at him, and then his dad tried to choke his mom, so he stabbed his dad with a scissor in the thigh. That's all he talked about in terms of
no,
family.
there was something either before or after where
There's
his
in a later
mom,
scene he
like,
says something about his mom.
I thought his mom like either enabled him or like wasn't
Yeah.
like approving or something. Like
It's
something
one of the.
like,
It's something like that.
Really?
Yeah, he says that
Okay.
later. Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
it's very Norman Bates.
Because like you guys
Elaborate.
also mentioned like him trying to repent for himself. I felt like it's less about repent and more about revenge. Because like these people have all wronged him in one way or another in his life. I think
No.
the actor
No,
point
but
was like
he is a
kind of
wrong. A lot of those people did not affect him. They just did shitty things in
yeah.
general.
He sees them just
Some,
as like a symbol
bad
of
people.
like the shit he hates and that he's become a part of.
yeah. I think that's
Like-
that's a better way to put it.
No, but he's
like-
like,
Like any-
repenting.
li-
in it. Like, yeah.
Literally only Leguizamo's character. That's the only one that personally affects him, I think.
Well, there's the
everyone
guy,
else-
the people
and
who are
then the three-
regulars, and then
The
they
three
can't.
financial bros,
Yeah.
their boss invest in the company, made him
Yeah,
do
but they didn't
things.
do anything.
Yeah,
They
but-
didn't do anything to him.
Yeah.
The
But-
bad thing they did was lying in general.
True, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
They're just shitty people.
and John Leguizamo's assistant didn't do anything. She just got student loans from.
No, she didn't get
didn't
student loans.
No, she didn't
Go
get
to
student
Brown.
She probably
Because
went
she-
to like a really expensive school and didn't get student loans.
Yes,
And so
she
he's
said
like,
she went to Brown,
Yeah.
and she didn't
Yeah.
get student loans, so she's rich. Is
Yeah.
the implication.
And so it's like, okay, no, you die because you're rich. It's like, oh, alas.
And also,
Okay.
like, was she trying to get a divorce with the?
She was
she wanted
married
to
to him.
quit. She wanted to quit.
Oh, she wanted
That
to.
wasn't-
switch.
that wasn't
was
his
the
wife.
Personal assistant. No,
Okay.
it was very clear that she was the personal assistant. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the tagline of this movie should be "Eat the Rich." Is
Yeah.
it? I need to find a poster because that's so obvious that I almost like. I feel like I never saw that as a tag.
Well, what's the alternate poster on Letterboxd? Is that
On the
what it is?
poster, it says "painstakingly prepared, brilliantly executed." Where does it? Did they not come up with "Eat the Rich"? Because that's well,
Bro, that's
That's
a
my-
very AOC style line. Didn't she wear like a dress that says like?
she did not originate that at
Yeah.
all. Like, yeah, she
She
wore
did
it
wear
as
a dress that
but,
said that to the Met.
but like that's just
But she did
a
not come
thing
up with
people
that.
say. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. My favorite twist of the movie was when we find out that Tyler knew what was going to happen that evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he invited Margot anyways. That was the moment where I was like, "Oh, I think I like this movie actually," because I was surprised, and that's like it really elevated his character for me. Because before I just found him really annoying, being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I need to take pictures," and "Oh my god, the food is so great." Like he sounds just
Yeah.
like that, and and then it turns out like he's actually like a sinister like douchebag
Yeah.
who is
Yeah.
willing to like kill this.
Yeah, he's like,
Well, I mean,
he's a sycophant. He's such a sycophant that he's like too.
exactly. I don't
like,
really
he's a
think he's a
psycho because of it.
douchebag. He's literally
Oh, he is.
crazy, you know. Yeah.
We raise our hands here, guys. I think we've learned this. Yeah, Sasha, what do you have to say?
Well, I think it's also raised the question: what is like, what's going on with him that he would voluntarily go to this meal knowing that he was going to die? Is it out of devotion only for the chef?
Yeah, he loves this
Yeah.
chef. He wants to eat at his
experience.
restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, but why does he want to experience it? Like, why didn't he just go, a day earlier? Why did he go on the day when
I don't know, man.
he was going to die? Like,
They literally corresponded for 6 months, so I
He was
think like,
invited.
he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess,
you-
but it's interesting to be like, an interesting thing would be like, what's his backstory? Because all we know about him is just that he's like pretentious food guy, and that he was talking to the chef, and that's it. There's less like, and also like, because and the other thing too is like all of the other characters in the tortilla scene, they've all got something like going back in their
Incriminating, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, okay, financial records, the movie that the chef
Affair pictures.
But then for Tyler, it's just like pictures of him taking pictures of the food, which he's not supposed to do. It's like, but so nothing is really shown about his character beforehand, and so we don't actually know anything about him, which is
I would-
separate him from everybody else.
Mhm.
I would say that.
Alex, we raise our hands here.
Well, look at what I'm doing right now.
You are out of
Right now.
order, but we'll allow
I
it. But
know.
you are out of order.
Yeah.
I am responding directly to Sasha's point. The pictures of the tortilla scene, I was confused, but thinking back on it now, the picture of him taking pictures is what is proving what Aidan said. His crime, his sin, is that he's a sycophant and that he's like glorifying the chef.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's what's symbolized in that photo.
Okay.
And I think what you're trying to get at, Sasha, is what's going on in his life that he's willing to die for this experience. And I think it's the fact that he's so obsessed with the chef and with being and like observing and being like consuming this experience or whatever that like he is willing to die for it. And as we see later with the Tyler's bullshit scene, which is next, he's kind of like broken inside because he can't. There's a separation between what he admires so much and his own skills.
Yeah.
And he, spoiler alert, ultimately does take his own life in the end, anyways. I think Peter had something to say next, though.
Yeah, I just thought like first, I think us commenting on like his sycophant probably accurate, and also I just I just love how like everyone has done something that's like wrong, but then his reveal felt way more personal than everyone else's, because everyone else is either like a picture of affair, just shady financial shit, but like his reveal felt a lot more intimate than these like other more, I guess, like incriminating evidence for me, and I just want to comment on that. So
Yeah, I see this as like the chef sees him as like one of the people who have corrupted this thing that he loves so much through his like sycophancy and through like he doesn't really care about the food. It's about like the prestige that comes with going to restaurants like that and canoodling with these types of people and being privy to knowledge that other people don't know. And he doesn't actually, like, that's revealed when he cooks the meal. He doesn't actually have any idea of how to deal with these raw materials from the environment. He can't make something beautiful and he can't really appreciate the beauty. And I think that the chef sees that as like a big part of the reason why he lost his way, and he has a lot of resentment both at himself and people like that as a result.
And I feel like I love the fact that Ray Fiennes pointed out that he, like, people like Tyler took away the mystique in the art, that they're literally eating food just to deconstruct the food. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize this ingredient. Oh, did you use this ingredient in that dish? It's like, it's less about enjoying the dish as a whole experience and more about thinking and breaking down what's in the dish and what makes this dish the way it is, you know?
Guys, he's making fun of us, the filmmaker. Like, we're Tyler. We're
Tyler.
Breaking down the dish. Fuck, that's embarrassing for us.
Hey,
but anyways, I was just gonna say that this whole movie is very Sissevanin. SE7
Oh,
EN7 by, I always call it S7.
That's what I call it
by
too.
David Fincher. Yeah, well, I think I got it from you because it's clever. But like just the idea of very like motivated killings based on what do you call it, like psychological or like beliefs.
It is like
Not
it is kind of
psychology,
sins
but
in this too.
sins.
Like
Yeah,
just
yeah. Yeah, so I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
The next scene I like to call dunking on Tyler. I just love how it feels very much like a one-on-one basketball game where Ray Fiennes just keeps like literally dunking on Tyler and just like shitting on him. That's not what happens in the movie, to be clear. But basically, Ray Fiennes calls him out and makes him try to cook something, and he's like so shit, and he makes undercooked lamb. And the one of the funniest gags in the whole movie is cutting to like the chef's table shot of his dish, and it's called Tyler's bullshit, and then it like every ingredient has like a adjective attached to it, so like undercooked lamb, shitty leeks, whatever it was. But you know, I love that scene. It was very funny.
I honestly one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Like I thought like it's like you can feel like Tyler's helplessness, but also like it's so funny that the fact that, you know, a person who loves cooking so much knows nothing about cooking. But I want to ask you guys, what do you think the chef whispered into Tyler's ears? Like what do you think like he told him to sort of I don't want to use motivated, but like pushed him over the edge to make him kill himself?
Yeah, no, actually, let me take this up. I think he said, "Hey, you little toady creep, you're a little crawler, fawner, flatterer, aren't you? You little flunky doormat lick spittle. You little pissy minion hanger-on leech puppet spaniel. You're such a mommy's bootlicker, yes man. Brown nose suck up. You arse licker, suckle, ass licker, ass kisser."
What the hell?
I think that's what he said.
That's what I actually was thinking the exact same thing.
Okay, well, I just want to pull back the curtain. I looked up synonyms for sycophant, and then I read them out in order with a couple of additional words. But that's what it was very fun. That's what I think he said.
I think he pointed out that like he was like kind of like empty inside and like didn't give a fuck. So I feel like Tyler's like a very insecure character, and he just pointed out like like you're nothing, and but I was gonna say one of the few shots that I was like, oh, this is a fucking great shot in the movie was also in this little section when it's, I guess, a little after, but when Anya Taylor-Joy sees his body hanging, and it's like kind of a wide, and we see it through a doorway, and like his face is completely in shadow, and so we can just kind of see like we can't see like above like his chest because it's just dark, and like it's actually a really haunting shot. I think it's really good.
I actually don't remember that. I do remember like the shot of the feet dangling, and you see her through the doorway, but I don't remember the reverse of that.
Because it cuts right to that from the shot you're talking about.
I might have blinked and missed it, but anyways, after that, Anya Taylor-Joy goes to the chef's house. Kind of an inevitable thing. Like it was pretty clear that was going to happen. And I mean, there's some interesting things in there. Like the chef's bedroom is a replica of the kitchen. I really like that. The bed was kind of in like a random spot, which I was like, why is it there of all places? Like, you know, it might have been more meaningful somewhere else, but I thought that was kind of clever.
Yeah.
The whole idea. Sasha?
The thing that I like this point in the movie, I was like, no, you've got to be kidding me. Because so you see that same silver door in that room.
Yeah.
You also have the silver door that Elsa said something very special is behind. When that door opened and I saw like the replica of the kitchen and the dining room, I'm like, don't be another one of these psychological movies where it's like, what's going on here? And then it wasn't. I'm like, okay, good. But for the second there, I was just like, holy crap. Okay, no, don't do this, please. So yeah, that was kind of weird. But the other thing is like with the house, it was like, I mean, yeah, it's the fact of like having his kind of background in there with like, you know, the pictures of him, like his upbringing, not upbringings, but like his beginnings as a chef and all that. It was like, you know, it was kind of poetic, but it's also kind of cliche. It's like, oh, it's like, you know, coming home, and it's like where he where his roots are. But the other thing is like, I mean, it was interesting because it's like also Elsa dies in the kitchen there, and so it's like, oh great, more death in the kitchen, I guess. So it's fun. Those are all kind of the things I noticed with it, but also the mystery of it at the beginning too, which was very Shutter Island, like with the lighthouse in that movie.
It's very Psycho and Norman Bates. Like I know I already said that, but here especially when he goes into the home, and that's like directly from Psycho, where the home is representative of the different structures of the brain, like the Freudian ego, ID, super ego kind of thing. And so you have the bedroom is one, and then you go into the further chamber, and it's like his core memory, like deeper desires or whatever. So yeah, Peter.
Okay, I just want to say that, like,
He just wants to say.
Yeah.
Just let him say it. Okay.
Like, I understand when I was watching the movie. I understand they sort of need a little bit of tension when Anya's exploring the house, but like killing Elsa was so unnecessary. Like, what does that accomplish? Like from a storytelling perspective, like other than creating tension in the house, there's nothing else, right?
I think they wanted like a good action set piece.
Yeah, I agree that that felt a little tacked on to me.
And honestly, like I thought they would use the kitchen a lot more, like because like there's a lot like in other action movies when you in a space like the kitchen, like you can turn on like the stove, that can create like some fun scenes. You can use a bunch of tools around in the kitchen. Turns out they were just smashing each other with coffee machines and then stabbing each other.
Well, she's not fucking John Wick. Like she's struggling for her life, and she's like a skinny person. Like she's not gonna, and like I think that would be unrealistic. I think the fact that she's like actually just like, like really trying to defend herself, I think that was portrayed.
And also like, why was she like, oh, Chef is trying to replace me? Like what?
I don't know. It was really random.
Yeah, obsession, etc., whatever. So one of them things.
See, some of this movie is just like, you have to pass it over.
Okay, yeah, there I agree. That's a moment where it's like, okay, whatever, and like, it's kind of in the same movie it explores that idea better. So yeah.
Anyways, after that, we get the Coast Guard bit.
That was so funny. I loved that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I think it was a good scene. I don't know.
I don't think there's a lot to talk about.
No, it's just kind of.
I think to say that it was funny is weird, but
no, like I love how like the gun is actually a lighter. That bit was hilarious.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
The only thing is I saw two missed opportunities in that. Like he's like, oh yeah, this guy is actually one of our staff members.
He fires and okay, no, never mind. Keep continuing. Yep.
What are you talking about? No, just like let me finish. God. So he's like, yeah, he's one of our chefs. I don't it was clearly an opportunity to be like, yeah, he was one of our chefs. Didn't you recognize him? Of course you did,
sure.
Right? And they didn't do that. I was like, oh, why? That was a great opportunity. I mean, you don't have to do all the things I'm thinking of, but
I don't know. Do you think that that's an example of being a little too obvious?
Maybe it is. Fair enough. Yeah. Peter, what are your thoughts on
that? It's kind of funny. I don't remember when he mentioned it exactly, but he mentioned a quote from Martin Luther King about how
that movie. Oh my god! Yeah.
About how the oppressed must stand up for itself in order to defeat oppression.
Yeah.
And I find it really interesting that how sort of he made a comment about like in our current society the oppressed doesn't stand up for itself because reasons, but in this scene the oppressed, which is actually the guests in this scenario who oppress other people in the outside world, they can't even stand up for themselves in the same scenario. The most they can do is done through a note, even though that like Ray France mentioned sometime in the movie that if they banded together and actually fought their way out, they probably could have, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
When he said that, I was like, could they have? They're severely outnumbered. I was like, I don't know that they could have done that.
And they're like,
well, I mean, I think it's really just to say that to sort of make you think. It's like, okay, so if when the the people oppressing people are in the oppressed shoes, they can't even get out of that mold to sort of fight for themselves, type of thing.
I mean, that also has to do with like they'd have to band together, and I think
Yeah.
they're fundamentally incapable of working together. I think they're very
Selfish
every man for
people
themselves.
I think
and,
it's also like entitlement. Like they would never think that someone would
do that
really
to them.
be
Mhm.
doing something like this to them,
Yeah.
and so like
I like
it's
that.
not
I like
until
the
it's
movie.
too late that they, you know.
Sasha, what are your thoughts?
The only thing that I thought was strange about the scene was like where like once the Coast Guard, as the Coast Guard's about to show up, they like put an apron on Ray Fiennes and like put a bandage around his hand. Like, what was that all about? Like, I was like,
Dude, they're trying to make it fun, bro. They're trying to make you think.
What the fuck are you talking about? They're covering up all like hints and clues.
I
that
know,
there's
but like
something wrong
they
going on.
know that the guy coming in is one of their own.
Yeah, but they're trying to
and
convince the
act-
guests that
Yeah,
the
they're
guy's a
trying-
Coast Guard.
Yeah,
That's not the question.
They're
Sasha,
trying to make
the
it
answer
fun.
is there was a blood.
No, okay,
handprint
yeah.
On
But what about his hand though? What was on his hand?
I forget what was injured about his hand.
Okay, that's probably
I don't remember. But Peter, that wasn't the question. It was literally like what was wrong with his apron and what was wrong with his hand.
Yeah.
Anyways, after that we get the cheeseburger scene. Only thing I have to say about that is I was really hungry. I was like, man, I could use a cheeseburger right about now. That was the most appetizing looking food in the whole movie.
I love that scene. That scene was so good. Like again, I think back to the point where how like they make cooking such an like ethereal and just like levitate that experience. Like the way they shoot the cooking scene, just fabulous in this movie, and the subtle shift of Ray Fiennes' facial expression just tells so much, you know, about like his progression as a character and as a person. And I think that's good scene. You know?
I will say I liked the ideas behind the scene, and I liked the I liked the way it was acted, and I like what it means within the script. But this was one of the most overt problems I had with the movie was in this section, which was I think his turn is too quick. Like when Margot stands up to him and is like, "I'm sending the food back. I want cheeseburger. Give me burger." Yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was just a little bit like, would he really break down that quick? Like, I know that he's like made a bit of a connection with her, and I know that she's discovered the picture of him flipping burgers and the thing. I understand, but I felt like he was so firm. No one's getting out of here, including you. You're going to die, and like, I don't know. I didn't quite buy him flipping on his morals here. I understand that he's gonna die, so it doesn't really matter if he lets her out. Like, I get that it's not really a consequence to him, but like, I don't know.
I think that's a great point. It's kind of silly. Hey, buddy, I also raised my hand, and I raised it first, so you can
Alex
shut up.
did raise it first, Peter.
So
This is true.
Peter's making faces. He's being super sassy right now. I think you're completely right. It's kind of funny that like all you had to do to beat him at his game was use logic, and like suddenly like that's the out is to use a doggy bag. It feels very like, ooh, I'm a clever screenwriter. This is how I'll escape. I'll use the rules of the restaurant.
It's also because that's like a frowned upon thing in fine dining. Like the idea of a doggy bag is something you'd scoff at in fine dining.
You'd think like that would make him want to kill her more instead of less.
Well, no, because he resents the. I understood it. I think it made sense. It was just too quick. Like we didn't see enough of.
I didn't have the same issue, but I agree that it's kind of silly that like that was it. Like, I just needed to make a cheeseburger.
That's what solves the problem. Yeah.
I mean, reminding him of his love of cooking, I think maybe that's why he gives her mercy and less.
Well, I think 100% that's what it is. Yeah.
Honestly, if it was just like the fact that she reminded him,
it's the pig moment. It's another pig moment. Sorry.
It is seriously. It is a pig moment or a ratatouille moment. Like it's all the same fucking. They can't think about an original thing that is fine dining movie genre. Anyways, I think it's the fact that she reminds him of why he loves cooking.
Yeah.
I don't know why they needed to do the whole doggy bag routine. Like I think it was enough that she makes him feel again or something.
Wait, what's the doggy bag routine? What's that referring to?
It's her out. It's how she gets out because she's like, "Can I have it to go?" And it's like, oh, you clever girl! If you get to go, you get to leave the magical island for free. You know,
Yeah,
like whatever.
I saw it more as like in fine dining. Like if you asked for like a doggy bag, it would be like ugh, like the portions are measured and whatever, and like you're not supposed to do that. And like the chef has developed this incredible disdain for like what fine dining is and the culture around it. And so her saying like, oh, I really liked this food and I want to have it later. It's not about this like, oh, the experience, like all this bullshit that's been built up. I like this food that you prepared for me and I want to have it later. And like, so I think that's what
It's
the
more
point of that was.
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter, what are your thoughts?
Well, I just think like if you pick up the subtle clues of the entire scene, I think it makes perfect sense that he let
Peter,
her
tell me
go.
about the subtle clues. I might not have picked up on
He,
that.
he let her go at the end. First of all, that this is the first dish in the entire movie that the chef personally made. The chef's never like always been like a supervisor type of figure in the kitchen, rather than like getting his hands dirty, actually making the dishes.
You should have a YouTube channel that's like Cinema Sins, but it's Peter's subtle hints. So,
Okay.
so ding, there's one. Okay, give me another subtle hint.
And then also like again, facial expression very important.
Ding.
All right. And I think like it makes sense, man. Like he sort of like he wants to get out of this world, but he's sort of like too far gone to sort of like pull to find his will to like live again, because he felt like he's sort of steered way too far from the path that he imagined himself going. So he doesn't really want to live, but then she sort of like ignited this spark back in him, and that sort of inspired him. And this is sort of like you described, like you made me love cooking again, so I'll let you go type of thing. Like
Right.
I don't think
what I'm saying is, like you said, he's too far gone. And I think that he's been established as being very far gone. I don't believe that spark was lit that easily. That's what I'm saying.
right. But then you also
That's
think
a
about
Ratatouille moment.
how
Yeah.
she challenged him and his fine dining ideas throughout the movie, even before that she discovered that.
Yeah, but he's very firm and doesn't give her any leeway up to that point. He doesn't give her any allowance. He doesn't compromise on anything he's saying to her.
Well, but I think it's about what you say exactly, right? Like, because like I feel like the burger thing is a very personal moment to him.
Sure.
Like it's sort of like if you think of if you think about like a life as a journey, it's like one of the fundamental milestones that he's reached. It's like getting your first paycheck almost.
If you've seen Inside Out, the Pixar movie Inside Out, it's a core memory.
If you see Westworld, it's a cornerstone or something. But like
Sure.
I don't remember. Was it cornerstone? But like I felt like these memories are special to people, and the fact that she's able to evoke sort of his nostalgia for that and eventually reignite his spark, I think it makes sense to me. I just find it odd that like the reference you made at the end is like, oh, my eyes are bigger than my appetite or something.
My eyes are bigger than my stomach. That's just like something you say.
Oh, really? That's just the same?
Yeah.
Because it's funny because Anya Taylor-Joy mentioned in an interview that she got made fun of as a kid because she has really big eyes.
Oh, is that what you said? No.
You think the writer was dissing her?
Yeah, I thought like it's so tailored to Anya. I was like, whoa, okay.
That's another one of Peter's subtle references.
Anya's like, what the fuck is this line? It's like the writer's like, man, the writer's like, you want me to say I have big fucking eyes? What is this?
Subtle Peter hint. Yeah. No, that's just a thing white people say, I think. But anyways, there's a final.
Man, that was an appetizing cheeseburger though. That cheeseburger looks so fucking good. Oh my god.
Anyways, this movie ends eventually. There's a scene where everyone becomes part of the last dish, and it's a s'more, and they light the plates on fire, and everyone has these awesome, I don't even know what
chocolate hats,
marshmallow shawls, and chocolate hats, and it's so funny. I think they're fezzes, chocolate fezzes.
Yeah,
and like that scene was very fun. I really like that ending scene.
More
Sasha,
about
Sasha,
the.
go first.
Sorry,
Oh,
Sasha,
fuck
go
off.
for
It
it.
is
Well,
Sasha time.
I knew when I saw the marshmallow vests, I'm like, oh god, I know exactly what's
Yeah.
going to happen here. But the funniest thing, like this is just a personal thing, but the funniest thing was when Ray Fiennes is just describing like the bastardization of the s'more and how it's just like the most insipid thing. Like I just looked over at Adilson because I remember we'd had this discussion on our camping trip, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't like s'mores." I'm like, and so we had this whole discussion about it. And I was just like laughing. I'm like, like, just because I had the conversation, I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, you know what? I will say the ending was kind of glorious in a way because it was like he stands in the middle of this fire pit, and the staff is like, "We love you too, chef." And then the characters all just kind of accepted their death. There's this one hilarious shot where the food critic is just chocolate like dripping down her face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Fine
have
look.
something to say about that.
That was really pretty funny. But yeah, I thought it was a good ending scene. I thought it was pretty well done. And then there's like the kind of culty thing where all the staff is like staring at the barrel as it zooms in on it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have a follow-up question. Were you, Sasha, or I guess was it Dilson Ray Fiennes who was talking about the bastardization of the s'more?
Well, no, they
during
both
camping?
were at different times. In the movie,
Okay.
Yeah, in the movie, Ray Fiennes was talking about it, and the camping trip, Adelson was talking about it.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay,
Peter's a
I
quick
have
comment
to
about
I have to
s'more.
say something about the s'more though.
It'll be
I
quick.
really loved how he was like trashing the s'more, right? But then he said like the catalyst or something, like the fire, sort of transform all these trashy ingredients into something beautiful. And I thought it was really well put. Like even though he disliked the concept of a s'more, but he really likes the concept of using fire to transform dislike things into something beautiful. So
I don't think that's
just
what he
a
was saying, but anyways, get in the line next time. Aiden, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like Sasha was saying, that shot of the chocolate dripping into the woman's eyes, I think it's great, and it reminded me of, and I swear to God, I have this written. It's not a bit. It reminded me
Yeah.
of Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, Raider of the Lost Ark. Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew you were
yeah,
gonna say it. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it could be a bit too, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, and then the movie ends. Hooray! Another movie with the final girl. Have you heard of that trope of
Yep.
like horror
yes.
movies?
Oh my
where
god.
Right.
There's one girl left alive at the end.
Like I mean, Barbarians one, and then I don't know if you guys
X
seen. Oh, X, sure.
one.
I don't know if you guys
Girl is
seen.
probably one. I haven't seen it, but
I don't know if you guys have seen this movie called Ready or Not with Samara Weaving. She
Yeah.
basically like and then the ending is so reminiscent because it's literally her in like a bloodstained dress. Like her dress started off white and then it was bloodstained at the end, lighting a cigarette, chilling on the porch. And like this in this movie, Anya was like like with blood on her dress as well, and then just chilling on a boat eating a burger.
You'll find that the final scene is very similar
Yeah,
across movies.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha.
So I thought like this very last scene, I thought she was gonna die too because there's a scene like where she like wipes her mouth with the menu, roll credits.
Yeah.
And but she. I don't know if this was just me or like there's this expression she kind of had where she just stops for a second. There was this moment, but also so many others.
She's poisoned.
I thought for sure there was going to be poison in something,
Oh, really?
and that she was just going to die eventually. But I guess not. So, which was good because I'd rather like somebody survive this ordeal. But that was like I was like for a second, then my heart just dropped. I'm like, no, oh my god, she's gonna die. I was like, oh wait, no, she's okay, she's just eating that burger. Okay.
I thought for sure that she was gonna look at the menu and it was gonna say two things: Tyler's bullshit and Anya Taylor-Joy's hamburger or whatever. I thought it was gonna be so meta that like Ray Fiennes knew exactly what was gonna happen. And I knew that like the odds of that happening were pretty low, but like I was like, oh, she's looking at the menu, like that's what it's gonna be, right?
The guy's not supposed to break, you know? Like him breaking is not what he planned. You know?
It wasn't planned. No, I know that, but I mean, there's other instances of him tricking us, right, with the Coast Guard. So it's not completely out of the question. Anyways, this is the end of the movie. Do we have any final thoughts about commentary? I know
I said everything I want to say. Pretty much.
I felt like you. But Peter said yes emphatically. So
yes, I want to talk about like I know Aidan relates back to art in general, but I just want to talk about like dining in general. Dining as the food in general.
As it pertains to the movie, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
Sure.
I think what this movie commented on about dining is very, very interesting, because like I think if we look at our world in general, like art in general is headed towards a direction of abstraction, like whether it is in fashion or in food. Like the models that we see on runways are not like, they're wearing clothes that everyday people don't think they will ever wear, and in styles and combinations that are so wildly exotic that's just not for the everyday people. And I think dining is headed towards the same direction as well, where like the idea, the concept behind a dish is almost more important than the dish itself. And I love how Ray Fine commented on that, like, like he started off cooking as, like a burger flipper, and then eventually like he's in a degree where he's cooking for people he doesn't want to cook for, and making food without love, because he does not believe in the concept behind food anymore, but because this is how our culture is shaped, and how the food critic talk about, like, I like this concept behind this food, like this is how we're reviewing food now. And if you don't go with the time, you're not going to get a job as a chef. So I think the commentary made on that is very clever and makes me think about our culture surrounding that.
I know what you're talking about, but like I don't think that's like a new point by any standard. Like I think people have known that fine dining is very like niche and weird, and most people don't eat that. Like that's been a joke since like maybe even the 80s. Like it's been around for a long time. Like you're not wrong that it is a point, but I don't think it's saying anything new per se. I was gonna say that I think the movie is kind of like commentary on film. And I actually, just before this, I was trying to find out if it was blue screen or not, the thing, and I found an interview, and it actually did mention that the director was saying how there's a connection between what is shown in the movie about fine dining and cinema. And I think yeah, I think it's really interesting. So like how they talk about like it's an experience, it's ephemeral, so you can't take pictures, like it's in the moment and then it's gone. There's the person who goes into the movie knowing what's going to happen and wants to enjoy it anyways. There's the critics, and one of the things that offends Rafe Fiennes' character the most is the actor who did a bad movie, right? Because he lost sight of the art.
Yeah.
Peter, you laugh like Jared Leto's Joker, just right there.
No way. It was not that sinister, was it?
Yeah, like that.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
any other final thoughts on this movie?
I've said my piece.
Said my piece.
Yeah, well, good.
Sasha, could you say that you've said your piece?
Yes, I said my piece.
I think I said my piece too. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Aidan,
Well, I
think you
would
have
say
a
that it reminds me of
segment.
West Side Story, actually. No, sorry.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm fucking around. 'Cause it's another.
We gave up on this bit. I closed the tab.
It's another Spielberg one.
It's almost like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, like The Color Purple, like The Fablemans, like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like
It's a good movie, by the way.
The Goonies. Oh fuck! Wait, is it?
That's
Okay.
produced probably.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have a segment. One might say this movie should have had a close encounter of the third kind with a particular alien. Aidan, what's the segment I'm talking about?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this podcast is called Predator versus Movies. We've done the movies part, and now it's time to get into the Predator. We ask the bold question: would the alien from the movie Predator make this movie better?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
during the men's Foley hunting scene, Predator just goes up.
Oh yeah. Maybe I think Predator just would have been a chef, just one of the chefs.
No
And that's
way,
it.
bro. That would be hilarious. Everyone just human looking with like a chef suit, and Predator's this gigantic alien body over
and
the
he's like,
chopping.
yes, chef. Whatever.
Yeah, like
that's
Predator's
it.
art form is hunting and killing. Yeah, and
Yeah. Okay.
Talk about the hunting industry.
Yeah. Any other ideas?
Absolutely not. I don't see Predator fitting in.
Oh, I know. A dish that's shaped like Predator, like
Oh,
a
God.
sushi
Oh,
roll,
yeah.
like arranged to look like
Yeah.
Predator or something. Yeah.
Bro,
Or the
what
There
if
you go.
Yeah,
what if
the actor guy was in one of the Predator sequels, and it was like a shitty.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And he
I was
found it so
thinking,
offensive that he made a Predator-shaped dish.
Oh, yeah.
A
Merger of the two.
cappuccino. A cappuccino
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if Predator was hidden on the boat at the end?
He
When
just
Anya's
jumps.
enjoying her
When he just-
cheeseburger.
It's like Friday the 13th. Like he jumps out and kills her.
No final girl. Everyone dies. Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's enough of that. We have
There's
another
another
segment.
segment,
Peter.
right?
We have another segment.
Sure.
Oh
Tell
my
me what
god.
it is.
Also
What's the segment?
Predator related somehow.
Yeah, what do we do?
It's called Predator's Picks. What, guys?
What?
Yeah, you're supposed to answer the question, Peter. What?
So all of us, we talk about our recs and anti-recs of the movies, shows, music that we listened to over the past week. So
Okay, great. Thank you, Peter. Sasha can go first. What have you seen, watched, listened, whatever?
Oh God, I've been looking at my computer screen a lot and typing a lot of words, so I haven't been watching much. I've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm just before I fall asleep recently. I started watching this very obscure Sean Connery movie called Medicine Man that my drug design professor told us about Sean Connery, and I don't remember who his co-star is, but they like go into the jungle, the jungle, and they're looking for this medicinal drug, and apparently there's some questionable chemistry in it, but sounds like an interesting movie. I had to pause it to go for dinner, but I will continue with it at some point. And I haven't been listening to music for the last 2 months because I've been listening to this other podcast. Probably.
Peter made a huge face.
Yeah, I don't know what
That's really
Peter's. I have no idea why Peter's reaction was so profound, but
funny.
yeah.
Make fun of Peter now.
I
Dunked in on Peter.
there was this
Peter's
old
bullshit.
CBC show called Wiretap that I used to listen to for about 4 weeks back in 2015. That somebody, I don't know who it is, but some savior put every episode of it on Spotify. So I've been listening back to that for the last month. So that's what I've been doing. Not much. I guess Alex and I saw A Decision to Leave. That was.
I guess. Oh, I didn't even include that. Oh my god, you're right.
The thing is, I can't give it accurately because so I went to that movie having had to take one of my migraine pills before. So that whole evening, I was just totally out of it.
He was
So,
stoned.
I literally fell asleep during the movie because my medicine made me so tired. And then
let's go, bro. Let's
So-
go.
I mean, from what I saw of it, I only actually fell asleep for about 20 minutes, but not because it was a bad movie, but because I was just in a total physiological state. So
Yeah.
that was
I actually
it.
forgot that I had done that. Thank you for reminding me. I almost didn't wreck it. I'll jump in just so I can talk about Decision to
Sure.
Leave. That movie was fantastic. I think I put it as my third favorite of the year. So
Oh.
it didn't hit my top like Tar and After Sun, but that's 3 weeks in a row for me seeing movies that were some of my favorites.
I
of the
need
year.
to see that, man.
It's insane. I haven't
Yeah.
seen a Park Chan-wook film before. This is my first. So he did Old Boy, Lady
Oh, yeah.
Vengeance, Stroker, and The Handmaiden, I think, are his biggest 4 films. And maybe it's Stoker. I don't know. But
He did a movie called Stroker.
It might have been Stoker. I don't know. Fuck, let me check. God damn it.
Stroker.
You're so perverted. Yeah, it's called Stoker. Sorry, my bad. Anyways, so yeah, Park Chan-wook, and it's insane. That movie is insane. Basically, it's a detective is trying to solve a case,
Don't spoil it.
and I'm not. And there's a prime suspect, and as he's investigating her, he falls in love with her. And it spins out of that. The camera work it's insane. It's clear they use cranes and stuff for some stuff, and there's zooms and stuff, and
Yeah.
there's some wide shots with filters and stuff. It's crazy, the camera
Right.
work in that movie. And it was just so engrossing. Peter's trying to make fun of me, but no one else is laughing. I just want to point that out. And yeah, no, I love that movie. It was great. What else did I see? I saw Petite Maman, a Canadian movie, I think, from last year. It was all right. I didn't actually love it, which kind of surprised me because I thought it was going to be really good, and it was just kind of whatever. But yeah, go support Canadian movies, and it was a French movie, so that one was cool. I also watched a movie that came out, I think, this year, and I tried to get Sasha to watch it earlier this year. It's called Pleasure, and it's a movie that's in the porn industry. That's
What are you talking about?
I said, well, you might have forgotten because you don't watch the trailers that I send you.
No.
But it was playing at the Cinematheque, and I wanted to
No.
see it, and we didn't end up seeing it. But it's on streaming somewhere. Anyway, so it's set in the porn industry, and basically, it's like an immigrant from Finland, I want to say, or Sweden, and she wants to be like the top porn star, I guess. And you might be thinking like, oh, that's like very like it's probably a horny movie. It's so anti-horny. Like I couldn't like I was very much like repulsed the whole time. And I was like there were moments where I noticed that I was like wincing. I was like, oh my God, like somebody help her. Like and I felt really bad. So I think it's super effective what the movie like is trying to get at. It's a little cliche, like, rise and fall, like it doesn't the structure doesn't do anything new, but I liked it. It was a good movie. And it's a very like it's trying to be like an art movie kind of thing. So if that's your jam. And then I watched Andor this week. Can't really remember. It's kind of like an in-between episode trying to get to the next big thing. So like it wasn't like one of the better episodes, but it was all right.
Andor's almost over, right? One more episode.
I think that was the second last one. Yeah. And oh my God, and spoilers for Andor. Just warning, spoiler warning. Beep, 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 for Andor.
Wait, for this episode or for previous?
The one that we just saw this week. Have you seen it?
Okay, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, take out your earbuds. Aiden, have you seen it?
I have.
Okay. When Luthen's ship does the fucking laser thing, I was like, what the fuck?
I liked that. I liked it.
I didn't like it. I was just like, this is silly. Like, I like the bomb thing.
Yeah.
When he uses the tractor beam against them. That was really smart. Yeah. And then he does the laser beam. So, anyways, you're good, Peter. You can come back. He had to take out his headphones. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. And last thing I'll rec is
when Luthen dies, like that is pretty crazy.
Oh man. Okay, you probably heard that. It was very loud. Anyways, I also watched
Bro, that was fake, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh my God.
Jesus
you
Christ.
Piece of shit.
I've been catching up on Barry, and I'm in season 2, and man, I wish I knew what episode that was. It was called okay, give me a second, I'll try and figure it out. Anyways, I got to a particular episode, and I was kind of like on the fence about the show, and I was like, I don't know how much I love it. Okay, it's episode 5 of season 2. It's called Ronnie/Lily, and this episode sold the show for me. It's so funny, and it was actually directed by Bill Hader. And basically, in this episode, events have happened where he's trying to get out of his contract killing life, and he doesn't want to kill, and he's vowed he's never going to kill again. And he's in a situation where someone has dirt on him, and he has to kill someone that the other person doesn't like. And he's an innocent guy. Like, he's just a regular dude. And so he goes to the house, and he's trying to kill this guy. And he's like, So first of all, he's like, okay, I don't want to kill you. So what you're going to do is you're going to pack your stuff, and you're going to go to Chicago. I'm sent here to kill you, but I'm just going to send you to Chicago. So just please pack up your stuff. So he goes into the closet, and then he sees all of this Taekwondo medals and like memorabilia. And he's like, oh no, like this guy's like the highest rank of Taekwondo ever. And so it's like a really suspenseful scene. Like you're like, he's definitely going to beat the shit out of Barry. And it waits for so long. And then, obviously hell breaks loose. And then eventually like the guy's kid comes home, and she also does Taekwondo. She's like a little alien, and she's like stabbing Barry, and she's insane. That episode is so fucking funny. I love that episode. It was probably my favorite so far.
Yeah, love the stabbing part.
Go check out Barry. Peter, you're not funny. So speaking of Peter, what have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I've actually, as you can tell, I've not seen Andor this week. And I've not seen anything else this week other than the menu. But I will rec an artist. I went to an Alan Walker concert yesterday in Toronto, and it was really hype. And Alan Walker's always been a really great DJ. So just if you have an Alan Walker show nearby, it's worth it. He does bring the hype. It's very good.
Cool. And bring it home, Aidan. What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to watch too much, but I've listened to actually 3 new albums this week, all of which I
Wow.
quite liked. So Brockhampton is a band that I've been listening to for a while. They dropped their 2 last albums both on the same day. And yeah, they're both pretty good. They're both good. It was like a good ending to an era, and that was cool. I also started listening to the artist Smino, and he has an album that came out recently called Love for Rent, and it's really good. And so I rec all those albums.
Cool. I think I actually have heard of Brockhampton. I just looked them up. They've got a song called Sugar and a song called Bleach.
Yeah,
And I
that
think I've
sounds
heard at
good.
least one of those too. So
Yeah, Jasper. thinks so.
cool. So next week we've got a tough decision.
Yeah.
Now, if my calendar is right, and I did some research on the Cineplex website, we will have 3 movies coming out that we have to decide
Really?
between.
The Fableman, Glass Onion, and something else. I forgot.
Bones and All. Is the third
Bones
one.
and All, right?
Glass
So-
Onion is Netflix, right?
Yeah. So there's a good chance that I'll just say postpone Knives Out
Yeah.
for when it comes out on Netflix, because not everyone's going to go to see it in theaters, and they're going to
Yeah.
watch it on streaming.
Right.
So I think we wait for that one. That's why we decided for Pinocchio too, because
Yeah.
it was in theaters only this weekend, and we're like, well, if it's in streaming later, why would I pay money
Right.
for it now and not just wait?
Well, you
So I
guys are
think it's-
getting my fresh take next week in the rec
Well, I might-
section.
I
Or
might watch it,
anti-rec.
but I'm not going to do the pod on it. I think for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm
Anyway, so
watching. I already booked my tickets, so
it's
yeah,
probably
it's
between
happening.
Bones and All and the Fablemans. I might be more.
I'm a big
inclined
Bones
for
guy.
Bones and All.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big
Aidan and
Bone-
I are on the
yeah.
same wavelength.
Yeah.
So that's what it's next week is shaping up to be. Peter, do we have anything to plug?
Right. So follow us on our Twitter and Instagram. The handle is Predator V Movies. And drop us a like. Give us a rating on Spotify. Leave some reviews on the podcast, and pass it to Alex.
Wait, Alex,
Plug.
Alex,
Yeah,
have you
it's-
made a Mastodon account just in case your Twitter dies?
No, I forgot to mention that. No, I'm not gonna bother with Mastodon. It's too hard. I don't think Twitter's.
No, it's probably
think-
fine.
I don't
it's
think
not
it's actually gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were overreacting. I don't think it's actually gonna die. I think it might have some outages, but
Yeah.
it'll change hands eventually.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're sticking on Twitter. Follow me on Letterboxd at Alex Gordon Letterboxd. Don't let Elon Musk buy Letterboxd, please. Aidan, what do you have to rec?
I also am going to plug my letterbox. It's 810 Sunny. That's 810 SONNY.
Never change, Aidan. Never change. And his
I
name is
straight up
Wombo.
don't know how to change my username on Letterbox. So
I think
Just
it's under
don't.
the
I'm not
change
gonna teach-
profile section.
I'm not gonna teach you.
Anyways, I'm assuming Sasha doesn't have anything to rec.
I mean, if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, I can go to my account to tell you what my username is because I don't know what it is.
You want people to follow you on Letterboxd?
If they
Sure,
want
do
to,
it.
it's Sasha_Moda. I try to rate every movie I do or that I see, but I mean, I don't review much. So if you want to see what I'm up to, by all means. But yeah,
Go make him Letterboxd famous, guys.
Yeah.
Because why not? Anyways, so yeah, go leave a review like Peter said. Make it nice. It's so easy, guys. I don't know why you're not doing it yet. Come on, help us out.
leave those
but-
reviews. Do it.
Yeah, do it.
you
I
should
don't
have a
know what
contest.
Come
accent
on.
this
Do
is.
it. Come on.
Do
don't,
it.
Come on.
Is
do
it the father? Is it Russian dubbed? This is Russian dubbed Predator versus movies.
Father.
So please leave us a review. And until next time, I'm Alex.
I am Peter.
I'm Aidan.
And I'm Sasha. Thank you for having me again.
And this was Predator Review.
Woo! Wow!
You were clipping there. You were clipping there a bit.